It all kicks off in a super weird, foggy swamp forest. Right in the middle of this gloomy marsh, a tiny yellow light glows on top of a fallen log. That light. It's a glowing little slime just sliding its way across the wood. Suddenly, our MC wakes up totally spooked, wondering where the heck he ended up. His last memory was reading some flop manga about mushrooms. While scrolling on his phone in bed, he got super drowsy and completely dozed off. Then it hits him, his HP dropped to 0 out of nowhere, and he just got izakai'd into another world. Already accepting his fate, he remembers there are a ton of stories like this, and focuses on how he's gonna survive. So he starts yelling into the swamp, asking if anyone's around. But noticing the creepy vibe of the place, he realizes keeping his trap shut is the smartest play. Looking around, he sees the spawn point is packed with bugs and dampness, thinking the whole place is absolute trash. Strangely enough, though, for some bizarre reason, he feels weirdly cozy there. Freaking out, he tries to figure out why he feels like a literal blob of jelly. Out of nowhere, a system screen pops up right in his face. The prompt shows he's a level 1 slime with barely any HP, needing to eat or hibernate right this second. Terrified of getting totally wiped out, the slime panics, knowing it's game over if he doesn't grab a snack. Looking left and right, he desperately searches for anything remotely edible nearby. The system gives him a friendly reminder that his main trait is being a decomposer. Putting 2 and 2 together, he figures slimes can eat wood and decides to test the log. Spreading his body over the surface, he finds the taste acceptable, kinda like a soggy graham cracker. He just chills there, soaking up nutrients for 15 straight minutes. Letting out a burp, the system chimes in he leveled up to 2, and the wood won't give him any more XP for an hour. The reward is 1 skill point to upgrade his pulsation. Confused by the weird skill name, he just dumps the point in to see what happens. Instantly, the skill activates, and the slime's little veins start pumping. Hyped, he realizes this moves his internal fluids, and actually lets him wiggle around. Since the log is out of XP, he decides to go explore the swamp floor. Feeling magical, he stretches all out, realizing he can shift however he wants. Slithering a bit further, he spots a colorful mushroom right ahead. He knows a human would kick the bucket eating that, but his monster instincts are screaming that it's a gourmet meal. Nice and slow, the blob maps out the shortest route to the target. The system even drops a fun fact, explaining that slimes are top tier at finding complex routes. Getting right up to the base, he preps for the strike. His jelly body starts wrapping around the fungus's stem. All fired up, he announces it's finally dinner time. In his head, it's like finally meeting his girl after chatting online for ages. His little illusion shows the fragile girl calling him a tough guy. He plays along in his mind, picturing himself in a fancy suit and confirming he's indeed the man. But the fantasy shatters when the girl reveals herself as a scary, toxic monster. Our MC screams in shock, realizing he just got completely catfished. Back in reality, the system blares an alarm about toxin invasion and a rapid HP drop. Taking damage over time, the slime freaks out, seeing he's been poisoned. Without a second thought, he literally chops off the part of his own body that touched the plant. The system confirms the poison is cleared, and our hero breathes a sigh of relief for his quick reflexes, even if it cost him some max HP. Noticing he managed to decompose a tiny bit of the fungus, he vows not to let this slide. Swearing payback, the slime drags himself back to base to heal up. Reaching his trusty log, he glues himself to the wood again to recharge. He marinates there for another 15 minutes straight. After letting out a burp, the system lets him know his max HP is fully restored. Stoked about the full heal, he readies up for round 2. The green blob sets off toward the toxic target once more. His genius strat is to take a tiny nibble and run away before the poison spreads, rinsing and repeating the cycle. Grabbing the stem again, he officially dubs this the Move a Mountain project. Brimming with confidence, he claims with enough time, he can take down anything. In his head, the toxic girl is already exhausted, while he's still going strong on attempt number 8. The illusion shows him slapping handcuffs on the cyber criminal. Striking a cop pose, he declares the scammer is under arrest. Back in the swamp, he finishes absorbing the fungus, and the system pings again. The notification pops up showing a successful decomposition and a shiny new poison-resistant skill. Putting it all together, the MC figures that's why those last few bites stung way less. Even after devouring the whole thing, he thinks it's weird he didn't instantly level up. But keeping his cool, he realizes this damn place is essentially an all-can-eat buffet. Soon enough, he swallows a harmless white shroom, and the system alerts him that his skills got a buff. Moving on to a highly toxic mushroom, he rakes in the XP and bumps his resistance up to level 2. Spreading himself over a giant colony, he announces they're all about to become his personal protein shake. The system confirms he hit level 5, but slaps him with a 24-hour cooldown on mushroom XP. Satisfied with the feast, he lets out a burp and decides to get the rest to go. Humming happily, he sticks a bunch of mushrooms to his back to act as emergency rations and armor. Channeling some animal documentary he watched, he copies decorator crabs, using the fungi to scare off predators. And just like that, the slime continues his swamp trek, feeling like an absolute survival mastermind. Suddenly, a swarm of giant wasps cuts through the air, bringing absolute terror. Curled up on the ground, the MC prays desperately not to be noticed by the bugs. Luckily, the winged beasts fly right past, carrying a large chunk of meat. However, a massive green frog drops from the sky and lands violently right in front of him. Paralyzed with fear, the slime completely freezes upon facing this new monster. He soon realizes the wasps are fiercely attacking the amphibian. Hiding behind the log, the MC notices a massive turf war is going down. The frog stands its ground while the swarm circles threateningly above. Analyzing the scene, the slime figures the swarm's numbers make up for the green monster's brute strength. With that, he roots for both sides to beat the absolute stuffing out of each other, imagining the massive XP he'd get from decomposing their drops. But the amphibian doesn't wait around and takes a huge leap toward the flying beasts. Prepping a heavy attack, the predator charges up energy in its mouth. With a lightning-fast strike, its giant tongue whips through the air, snagging several wasps at once. The monster chews its meal while letting out a victorious croak. Watching the brutality up close, the MC stays completely still, sweating bullets from the tension. Suddenly, a gigantic shadow covers the frog, who looks up totally confused. A brutal, insanely fast attack sends monster juice splattering all over the place. An enormous, monstrous bird dove from the sky and drove its beak straight into the amphibian. After securing the takedown, the giant bird turns its head and locks its red eye directly on the slime. Totally panicking and accepting defeat, the slime offers up his mushrooms, complaining that the early game is literally impossible to play. The winged beast keeps staring at the little blob for a brief moment. As if finding nothing interesting, the bird just turns its back and flies away. Just the wind from its massive wings is enough to send the slime flying and deal a huge chunk of damage. Night finally falls over the dangerous swamp. Exhausted, the MC hides inside a hollow log with his supplies. Reflecting on the day, he realizes he's at the absolute rock bottom of this hostile world's food chain. The only upside is that he's so insignificant he doesn't even count as a snack for the much bigger monsters. The system checks his stats, showing level 5 and the title of weak creature. Frustrated, he realizes that grinding 4 levels didn't change his miserable reality at all. With that, the slime wonders how he's going to manage to survive and level up in the coming days. Overcome with exhaustion, he tries to sleep, wishing this was all a bad dream and he'd wake up in his own bed. Morning light pierces the damp forest, kicking off a brand new day. Something weird and green starts slowly dripping from above a mushroom. The acid drops right on the slime's head while he's still snoozing, slowly melting his HP away. Waking up startled, the MC screams in pain while the system announces he just scored a new explosive skill. Accidentally triggering the new move, the blob quickly blasts backward, dodging the danger. Pissed off by the rude awakening, he immediately wants to know who threw that at him. Looking ahead, he spots a white snail melting his food stash with a corrosive liquid. The acid works fast, dissolving the wood and fungi into a greenish paste. The bug starts slurping up the mush while our MC cusses out the stinky trespasser. Super mad, he grumbles that stealing his food without asking was already a major jerk move, but spitting corrosive saliva in his face and almost disfiguring him. That's totally unforgivable. Completely ignoring the lecture, the mollusk just lets out a cute, innocent little squeak. Seeing the bug's act, the slime immediately tells him to drop the fake victim routine. The little critter keeps making adorable noises while going back to slurping the melted paste. Weighing the situation, the MC tries to be more understanding, since they're both super weak monsters starving in the swamp. Deciding to play nice, he tells the intruder to enjoy the buffet, since there are plenty of mushrooms for both of them to chill. The new buddy keeps sucking up the meal peacefully, making the blob think he just formed a strong bond straight out of a buddy cop adventure. In his dreamy mind, he's already picturing a dynamic duo where they work together to survive. The illusion goes even further, fantasizing about an epic journey until they take down the demon king himself side by side. Snapping back to reality, the blob reaffirms that having teammates is crucial in this sketchy place. Hyped, he proposes a formal alliance, promising the mollusk will never go hungry again. The snail stares dead at the MC while making its signature squeak one more time. In the blink of an eye, the white bug lunges and rips a huge chunk out of the blob with a brutal bite. Hurting bad from the wound, the slime accepts that out in the wild, it's strictly hunt or be hunted. Leaking fluids and running for his life, he kicks himself for falling for the enemy's cute looks. Recognizing he's at a massive disadvantage, The predator keeps up the relentless chase without changing its innocent expression once. Sliding as fast as he can, the victim realizes the trespasser has zero intention of letting him go. To try and survive, he dumps all his banked points to upgrade his pulsation skill. With the upgrade maxed out, the MC focuses entirely on peeling out of there at top speed. The deadly race continues over the massive wooden roots of the forest. 3 minutes pass, and the gap between hunter and prey hasn't changed a bit. Looking back, the blob curses the snail, realizing it's just as agile as he is. Prepping another attack, the bug gathers green saliva in its mouth. A dangerous stream of acid is fired with full force at the moving target. The perfectly aimed shot hits the prey's back, melting a huge chunk of his body and dealing massive damage. With his mass split in half, the MC gets confused, trying to figure out how his consciousness even works now. He quickly shakes off those thoughts, focusing purely on dealing with the imminent danger of the hunt. Revealing its true, terrifying face, the snail opens a massive mouth packed with razor-sharp teeth. The predator viciously attacks the surface, showing absolutely no mercy. While the monster gobbles up the separated half, the slime promises to hold the line so he can get his payback. Finishing its quick snack, the white creature seems to swallow the whole thing without a second thought. Slowly turning toward the main course, the creepy bug leaves the blob in absolute panic. The hunter slithers swiftly across the log, blowing right past the loose mushrooms. Its gaping maw gets dangerously close, ready to deliver the final blow to the slime. Using his burst of speed, the MC launches a toxic mushroom right down the enemy's throat, letting him know the menu just changed. Caught off guard, the snail chokes hard with the lethal trap jammed in its mouth. The potent poison acts incredibly fast, and the monster starts thrashing around wildly in agony. Finally, the predator drops, granting the exact XP needed for a new upgrade. Super relieved, the slime figures the enemy's habit of melting food proved it had zero poison resistance, making his counter attack flawlessly effective. Laughing triumphantly, the MC celebrates taking down his very first monster in this new world. He quickly wraps up the carcass, curious to see what kind of surprise decomposing a bug like that will bring. But the second he tastes it, he complains that the snail meat is way too sticky and gross. He tries to chill out by activating his skill, pretending he's dining on a fancy French escargot dish. Suddenly, the blob gets hit with a violent gag reflex and is totally outraged by the taste. The flavor is unbearable, mixing salty and sour with a texture like thick snot. He thinks the whole thing is revolting. Right then, the system chimes in saying the decomposition got interrupted and 0 XP was gained. Confused, the slime wonders if he should just toss it, but feels it's a huge waste since he risked his neck for it. Knowing he needs to get strong fast, he concludes the harsh reality doesn't let him be a picky eater. Accepting his fate, he decides to hold his imaginary breath and swallow the whole thing at once. The dissolving process takes over the area, covering everything in a weird purple tint. Totally drained, the little blob just splats on the log, recovering from his culinary trauma. Finally, the system prompt pops up, confirming the XP gain his level up to 7 and a full HP restore. However, even fully healed, our MC grumbles that he feels even worse than before. The glowing panel shows he now has 14 upgrade points, letting him spec into decomposition, pulsation, or poison resistance. Checking his options, the blob analyzes his short list of available skills. Frustrated, he realizes there isn't a single technique focused entirely on pure attack power. But knowing complaining won't fix anything, he accepts that it's fate's fault for turning him into a harmless puddle of jelly. In his imagination, the stronger predators are laughing in his face, knowing he'd never have the guts to provoke them with his current stats. Making peace with his situation, he decides to spend his points leveling up his pulsation even more. The skill hits level 4, and he eagerly gets ready to test out his new jetaway speed. With a quick burst, the jelly body shoots 20 centimeters forward on the wood. Pleased with the initial result, he confirms he actually got faster, hitting that mark per second. The joy is short-lived, and he cries after calculating that it's less than 1 kilometer per hour, feeling like a total failure. A whole week rolls by with the slime living out his daily swamp routine. He admits hiding there is safe, but the resources dried up and he only gained 2 levels, meaning he needs to find a new base. Prepping for the big move, he decides to gather a few more supplies before hitting the road. Activating search mode, he spreads his body out, creating dozens of thin veins to scout multiple directions at once. The jelly network quickly expands across the floor, covering a massive area in search of grub. The system pings, reporting the capture of 3 white mushrooms, which are quickly stashed away. The gathering run turns out super productive, with the system logging 30 more small fungi bagged. Satisfied, the MC notices that having better control over his body lets him store and decompose stuff internally way more efficiently. Chowing down on a bluish fungus on the spot, He bags some XP and levels his poison resistance up to 4. During the sweep, one of his tentacles touches a red shell that the system flags as undecomposable. Suddenly he takes a sneak attack, losing 9 HP and screaming in pain. Looking at the attacker, the slime instantly recognizes it as another one of those toxic snails. Wasting no time, the enemy monster spits a massive barrage of acid right at him. The blob barely manages to dodge, taking only 7 damage and thanking his lucky stars he upgraded his speed earlier. The mollusk keeps firing projectiles like crazy, making the prey realize this guy is way faster than the first one. Slithering nimbly through the brush, our MC taunts him, saying it's going to be impossible to land another hit. Using his movement burst, he sacrifices 33 HP to dash forward at a ridiculous speed. The snail attempts one last desperate shot against the target charging straight at it. Taking advantage of the opening, the blob jams a highly toxic mushroom right into the enemy's mouth. Landing the perfect hit, the slime flexes, saying dealing with these guys is a breeze once you know their weak spot. Poisoned by the shroom, the white monster thrashes in agony, spraying acid everywhere uncontrollably. After the predator is sent packing, the notification confirms the XP gain and his level up to the coveted level 10. Absorbing the mollusk's remains, the MC still finds the process pretty gross, but can't deny the payout is totally worth it. With the feast wrapped up, he decides to continue his journey, carrying the empty shell like a trophy. Soon, the little blob hears a weird noise coming from the nearby bushes. Figuring it's just another snail looking for trouble, he rolls up full of confidence, telling the enemy to show itself. But to his absolute horror, a monstrous, gigantic centipede emerges from the brush. The multi-legged beast rears up threateningly, casting a massive shadow over the slime. Trembling with fear, our MC backs up, realizing this terrifying bug is way out of his league. In a brutal blur, the giant insect dives at top speed for a lethal strike. Desperate, the slime holds up his mushrooms like shields, begging the monster to stay away. The centipede's razor, sharp claws slice through his makeshift defenses like paper. Shocked to see his precious fungi destroyed so easily, he realizes the defense strat was completely useless. The predator grabs its prey with full force, using all its body blades to shred the victim instantly. However, the sharp legs just sink into the jelly mass without causing any actual damage. Surprised, the slime quickly figures out his fluid anatomy is a natural counter, making him completely immune to slashing attacks. Taking advantage of this huge natural buff, the blob grabs the bug and says he's not going to turn down free XP delivered right to his door. Moving along through the swamp, the now confused hunter spots a giant green beetle on the path. Looking up, he notices a bee flying freely, thinking it looks pretty cool but bummed he can't reach it. But when he comes face to face with a massive roach, the MC drops the hunt and pretends he didn't see a thing. Humming a happy tune, the blob keeps sliding through the forest with his little shell and supplies. The system confirms his excellent progress, displaying the sweet level 13 and his upgraded stats. Hyped up, he admits the carnivore diet skyrocketed his leveling, and he already feels ready to take on anything. Analyzing the food chain, he plans to eat frogs soon, concluding the worst is over and his growth is about to go exponential. In his grandiose mind, he pictures himself defeating all the swamp predators, laughing out loud thinking he's gonna rule the world in no time. The hype train derails when the jelly traveler stops right in front of a large puddle of water. Remembering the area is full of these puddles, he wonders if he can dive in to loot the resources at the bottom. Full of courage and curiosity, he claims he'll only find out if he tries, dipping a piece of his body into the murky water. Instantly, the blob swells up in a bizarre and desperate way, screaming that he feels like he's going to explode. The system drops some science about cellular osmotic pressure, and he realizes in horror that since he's a single-celled slime, fresh water will literally destroy him. Quickly retreating back to dry land, our MC accepts that his dream of exploring the underwater world will have to wait. Peeking from the water's edge, our MC spots a giant crab making its way out of the swamp. Totally in shock, he stutters, trying to confirm if that's really what he thinks it is. The aquatic beast just stands there, blowing bubbles from its mouth with a super intimidating glare. But the slime's mind is already drifting, picturing an amazing seafood boil, celebrating that he finally gets to eat normal food. Full of hidden motives, he calls the bug to dry land with some lame excuse about wanting to be friends. The shelled monster slowly starts climbing the rocks toward the shore. Reaching the top, the creature plants itself on the ground, still blowing those weird bubbles. Seeing its hostile stance, the little blob realizes his cheap talk didn't work even a little bit. With that, he gives up on baiting the prey and starts scheming a crazy plan to dissolve himself in the water to catch it. But the crab is faster, firing off a violent barrage of water bubbles from its mouth. The high-pressure attack hits the jelly body dead-on. The extreme force of the blast sends the slime flying, skidding across the dirt floor. Freaking out watching his HP drop by 25 points, he can't believe the enemy has a literal water gun. The monster keeps firing non-stop, landing grazing hits and shaving off another 10 points while our MC tries to bolt. Desperate, he manages to dive behind a massive log right as another shot explodes against the wood. Hiding and panting, our MC admits that attack does real damage, and this guy is way tougher than the bugs from before. Deciding not to be an easy target, he resolves to camp out behind the log and wait to see who has more patience. Soon, a dull thud echoes from the other side of the wood, making the blob wonder if the enemy finally gave up. But actually, the crab just fully climbed onto the bank to hunt him down on foot. Suddenly, a monstrous, giant spider drops down hard into the brush. Sensing the bigger threat, the aquatic monster uses a dash skill and bolts out of there as fast as it can. The slime peeks around the side of the tree, terrified and praying it isn't another problem heading his way. Panicking when he spots the new predator, he scrambles up the trunk, wondering if he's about to become a snack again. Gaining height, he complains about his rotten luck of becoming prey in seconds, but notices that up there, he's safe from the water attacks. The giant spider approaches the base of the tree, making bizarre noises while staring at its meal up high. Cooling down after realizing it's just a bug, our MC tells the beast to get lost because he doesn't have time for games. Full of swagger, he warns the beast not to press its luck, reminding it that he's already eaten a bunch of bugs just like her. Completely ignoring the cocky warning, the spider keeps clacking its claws, ready to throw down. With a lightning-fast jump, the monster unleashes a slashing attack, tearing the jelly mass from end to end. Taking 30 damage, the blob laughs off the situation, reminding everyone that his soft body is totally immune to any kind of slash. The level 16 beast lands right on top of the split victim, prepping its fangs to devour the whole thing. Out of nowhere, a super strong water jet shoots up from below, blasting our MC against the tree. Taking another 17 damage, he realizes in despair that he's sandwiched between the spider and the crab. With the bug charging again, the little blob grumbles that bad luck didn't just knock on his door, it decided to move in. Totally cornered, he feels the pressure of being in a dead end for the 1000th time. Down on the ground, the aquatic monster aims up and fires another violent barrage of bubbles at the trunk. Slithering nimbly to the side, the slime dodges the lethal hit and laughs at the enemy's failed attempt. To avoid getting blasted by the water, the spider takes a massive leap, throwing itself out of the tree. Landing firmly on the grass, the 8-legged creature focuses all its attention on the new armored challenger. Without wasting a second, the arachnid rears up and shoots a glowing web straight at the threat. Using its special skill, the bug spits a ridiculous amount of silk, covering the opponent. Capitalizing on the opening, the beast leaps brutally, executing a double slash with its sharp claws. But the aquatic monster activates a shield on its own shell, blocking the impact perfectly. In a quick counterattack, the crab tries to crush the spider with its pincers while she manipulates her trap. With precise web control, the bug manages to completely tie up the crustacean's giant claws. Watching the brawl from above, our MC cheers that his strategy of pitting them against each other worked flawlessly. Tangled in the sticky threads, the aquatic beast thrashes furiously while blowing angry bubbles. With a lethal move, one of the spider's claws pierces straight into the crustacean's unprotected eye. The brutal hit makes the big guy recoil, dazed and feeling immense pain from the critical strike. Seeing its huge advantage in the fight, the arachnid makes its creepy noises, sounding like an absolute victor. Gathering all its brute strength, the crab forces its pincers outward, tearing the web that held it down. Caught off guard by the burst of power, the spider jumps back, trying to keep a safe distance. With its claws finally free, the wounded monster slowly advances, ready to hit back. Refusing close quarters combat, the bug casts its skill, firing continuous bursts of magical silk. In a matter of seconds, the armored beast is completely wrapped in a thick cocoon of tough web. Shocked by the turnaround, the slime is impressed seeing the little spider dominate such a tanky enemy. The victorious bug slowly walks up to its immobilized prey to finish the job, once and for all. However, the crustacean's mouth starts glowing intensely, charging an absurd amount of energy under the web. A gigantic, spinning water cannon erupts from inside the cocoon, destroying everything in its path. The monstrous pressure of the continuous jet rips through the silk bindings, like they're absolutely nothing. The water blast hits the spider dead on, shattering its legs and breaking its entire defense instantly. The violent whirlpool keeps sweeping through the forest in a terrifying display of power. Clinging to the tree so he doesn't go flying, the MC realizes the prey's survival instinct triggered that suicide move. As the storm dies down, both predators collapse on the ground, completely wrecked and out of gas. The clearing goes dead silent, showing the arachnid's remains on one side and the motionless crustacean on the other. Stretching an eye out super carefully, the slime checks if the water machine finally stopped shooting. Seeing the coast is clear, he slowly slides down the trunk to check the aftermath of the war. Standing next to the defeated big guy, the blob mocks the situation, seeing the beast all limp after spitting so much. Deep in thought, he tries to cook up a way to finish off the beast without risking a bite or letting the enemy recover. Just then, his eyes lock onto a pretty big rock lying nearby in the grass. Planning to use the object's weight, he stretches out to cover the rock and store it in his internal inventory. But a system warning flashes saying he's out of space, reminding our MC he lost a lot of body mass while running away. Without a second thought, he throws up all his precious mushrooms on the ground to clear up his body's capacity. With the space fully freed up, the notification confirms the giant rock was successfully stored. Prepping for the final execution, the slime takes an imposing stance, ready to crush his luxury dinner. Our MC carries the giant rock, complaining that it's way too heavy and totally overkill. Just then, the crab's eyes pop open, letting him know it's there to collect its debt. Without hesitating, the slime drops the massive rock from the top of the tree with everything he's got. The weight crushes the aquatic monster dead on, sending water splashing everywhere. Landing on top of the defeated big guy, the slime talks trash, asking if it still wants to throw down. But the armored beast has no reaction left, totally destroyed by the direct hit. With that, the rock finishes sinking into the bug's shell, shattering its armor for good. Satisfied, he declares victory in the three-way war while the system announces his level, up to 14. Full of himself, the little monster laughs, feeling like the most amazing and powerful being ever. The little blob quickly hops toward the carcass, announcing it's time for the grand feast. Setting up the main course on the wooden log, the hunter gets ready to grub. Using the shell itself as a bowl, our MC announces he's diving face first into the meal. He devours the tender meat with a vengeance, scarfing it all down super fast. The flavor turns out to be incredible, making him recall the gross bugs he had to swallow before. Crying tears of joy, he confesses that good food cures any trauma and promises to survive. He licks the plate clean until nothing's left, thanking nature and promising zero waste. After letting out a massive burp, the blob checks his stats and sees his HP is maxed out. With his belly full and hydrated, our MC is pumped with motivation, deciding it's time to grind. Gathering all his strength, the slime tries to push the giant rock across the dirt floor. The little blob screams, squeezing his whole body while putting an absurd amount of effort into it. But the weight is too much, and he backs off panting, feeling the insane difficulty of the challenge firsthand. Standing in front of the obstacle, the slime mutters to himself, wishing something would just pop out already. Remembering the bubble attack makes our MC figure he can force the water out of his own body. He focuses all his energy, pushing his internal fluids to the absolute limit to fire a shot. But the result is just a tiny, pathetic squirt that lands weakly on the ground. Frustrated with his bad aim, he grumbles that the fluid came out the wrong end and decides to try again. Totally drained on the grass, the slime notes that he loses control when his body gets too mushy. Back in his normal shape, the yellow blob is super pissed about this sudden fail. Refusing to quit, the little monster pops his explosive skill and charges in full throttle. The system quickly chimes in, announcing that the impulse-focused skill evolved into cytoplasm shot. Reading the detailed description of the new internal attack makes our MC let out a laugh of pure joy. Celebrating his massive success, he happily confirms that skills really can evolve a lot. He soon spots a huge difference, surprised to see that the magic's cooldown timer completely vanished. Riding this massive hype, the slime starts firing off his own body over and over without stopping. He bounces through the trees at high speed, yelling happily that the move has zero cooldown. After burning all his energy, the slime collapses exhausted right on top of the aquatic monster's carcass. The continuous HP drain makes the blob figure out that rapid firing consumes his actual cellular mass. Eating spider leftovers to heal the damage, he bumedly accepts that he strictly relies on devouring everything. A crazy idea pops up instantly, making the little monster wonder what would happen if he ate himself. Finding some of his own chunks left on the grass, he announces he finally found what he was looking for. He looks at the yellow puddle and is pretty impressed by the size of his lost piece. Not wasting any time, our MC activates recall and starts absorbing the mass left on the ground. The loose chunk slides quickly across the dirt and merges back into the main slime body. Getting his HP and XP back, he's weirded out by mysterious memories flooding his brainless mind. Figuring out the deep mechanics, he concludes his clones absorb resources and transfer everything upon returning. Our MC cruises through the swamp flexing hard, thinking he just discovered an insane glitch in the world. In his genius mind, splitting his body to do chores, and then merging it all back will skyrocket his leveling. Without losing a second, the slime sacrifices 10 valuable HP and forcefully tears off a piece of himself. Seeing the piece on the ground, he notes he has to be super careful so low HP doesn't trigger internal consumption. He smiles, doing the math on his spare energy and realizing he can spawn a ton of clones if there's enough food. The blob squeezes tight, using maximum effort to multiply his workforce all at once. A violent burst shoots dozens of tiny slimes into the air, costing a big chunk of HP to pull off. The tiny critters hit the grass wiggling, making the slime cheer for the absolute victory of his master plan. Fantasizing about being a super skilled ninja, he jokes that he just learned a very famous jutsu. The yellow commander raises his hand, ordering his newly minted squad to roll out immediately. Instantly, the smaller pieces follow orders, starting to devour the dry wood and fungi all around. The little critters charge fearlessly, rapidly absorbing the forest's many resources. The system logs the new tracked skills while our MC just sits back and watches the grunt work. Super satisfied with his dedicated pawns, he decides to gulp down the spider meat to get his health back to full. Hiding in the shadows with a super intimidating glare, he admits he's feeling scary strong. He tries to picture facing several dangerous attacks, remembering his fluid body is immune to standard piercing moves. The same goes for close-range sword slashes, guaranteeing no normal cut can ever hurt him. Even if he takes an advanced magic strike that splits him right down the middle, he just glues the pieces back together. This insane region just proves his theory that slimes are basically untouchable against brute force. After running the numbers on his perks, our MC realizes he doesn't need to fear crushing power anymore. His only remaining fear is taking heavy magic hits, which haven't really shown up in the swamp area yet. With that, the blob puts his new plan to work, dropping the same giant rock from the tree with zero effort. The heavy boulder flattens a crab chilling in the water, while the other bugs have no idea what's going on. Using his weak yellow clones as bait, he lures a line of angry crustaceans down the dirt trail. The armored beasts snatch the tiny blobs, clicking their massive claws ready for the perfect strike. But the aquatic squad blindly approaches the tree, completely unaware that the real hunter is waiting up high. Suddenly, the monstrous rock drops from the sky, absolutely obliterating the prey in a single massive hit. RMC screams in pure joy, eating his heavy makeshift weapon over and over again. The dangerous stone cuts through the air at high speed, securing big, fast kills with barely any effort. Wiped out after a hardcore day of hunting, the slime celebrates as well, earned level 15 and 6 victories. Back to the endless grind, our MC swallows another bug to get his energy back. Happy with the full heal, he excitedly announces he's gonna do it all over again. Staring down a giant rock in the grass, the blob preps for another round of imaginary combat. In his grandiose mind, he pictures a stylish gunslinger blasting firearms with insane power and precision. Turning the delusion into reality, the slime fires dozens of small pieces of his own body at the natural obstacle. The jelly bullets hit the target dead on, and the system quickly confirms his attack skill leveled up to 6. But exhaustion hits hard, and his HP pool tanks, triggering autophagy mode. Chewing on a stick, he happily notes his aim and power improved a ton. Focused on his own grind, the little monster reflects that his current cap is 30 shots and tries to brainstorm a way to get even stronger. Right then, a genius idea sparks, and the little yellow blob grabs a toxic mushroom and a piece of wood. Totally hyped, he decides to add a little spice to his moves. Wrapping his own pieces around the venomous fungi, he chucks it all at the rock, proving he can now poison targets from way far out. Using that same big brain logic, he quickly wraps small stones and fires them, claiming this will massively buff his physical damage. The new heavy projectile slams the target with insane force, shattering the bigger rock into pieces instantly. Wearing an expression of pure arrogance, the yellow sniper flexes his IQ and declares himself a true survival genius. Suddenly, a mysterious hoot echoes through the forest, breaking the silence. Totally spooked, the slime wonders if that's a bird and spots some weird glowing lights nearby. The scenery reveals the swamp's ancient, massive trees completely drowned in thick, dark fog. Super curious about the vibe, our MC stretches his body to peek at the glowing dots floating in front of a hollow log. A magical see-through owl pops out of nowhere, hovering right above the tree. The mystic creature lets out a high-pitched sound, casting a blue glow over the dark area. Without a second thought, the blob runs for his life, kicking himself for running straight into a monster that uses magic. Bouncing fast across the dirt, he tells himself that making a tactical retreat is his only survival option right now. The glowing bird lands quietly on a branch, just watching its pathetic yellow prey run away. The mysterious predator's glowing eye locks onto the target, popping its special shared magic vision skill. Far away, a pink-haired human girl focuses her sight through her hands, noticing the sudden movement in the swamp. Just then, an adventurer from her party asks if she found anything cool, but the girl answers calmly that she just saw a weird little monster passing by. The party keeps riding their large armored mounts while complaining about the lack of strong monsters and the guild's broken magic comms. Sprinting as fast as he can, our MC suspects the enemy spotted him and keeps up his crazy dash, desperately hunting for a safe hiding spot. Braking hard at the edge of a dark river, he figures crossing the water is the best play, but freezes up, not knowing how to do it without melting. Rushed by fear, the slime gets a running start and takes a massive leap, remembering the laws of physics to gain distance. Mid-air, he fires a chunk of himself backward, using the blast like a rocket to cross the water safely. The rough landing on the other bank immediately rips away 80 HP, splashing his jelly body across the dirt. Even banged up, the little monster doesn't waste time, and goes back to bouncing through the creepy trees, getting as far away from the magic threat as possible. Totally exhausted and hiding behind a giant log, the little slime takes a deep breath. Thinking he finally ditched the danger, still panting, he plans to munch on some branches to heal up, accepting that a higher, level enemy would delete him in a flash, even if he is the king of the weak monsters. Out of nowhere, a pair of terrifying red eyes and a crushing aura pop up right behind him. The slime gets the jump scare of a lifetime, feeling full panic mode kick in. Shaking with terror, he can't believe he got hunted down so fast, and admits the pressure from this presence is way worse than any predator he's faced yet. As soon as he turns around, the little blob realizes instantly that this colossal monster is definitely not the magic owl from before. A gigantic tail covered in thick scales and a razor, sharp stinger violently bursts from the ground, ripping through the damp forest floor. Completely in shock, the little monster stammers, unable to form a full sentence after coming face to face with a tiny piece of that monstrous beast. Floating right in front of him is what looks like a severed finger falling from the monster. Mesmerized, he thinks he just stumbled onto the opportunity of a lifetime. In his mind, the blob turns into a glowing, jacked warrior, convinced that eating that thing will skyrocket his power to some god-tier level. Driven purely by greed, our MC takes an excited leap and sticks himself hard onto the colossal creature's giant scale. Popping his max dissolution skill, the slime spreads his soft body, trying to melt and absorb the armored shell at all costs. Using ridiculous strength, he twists and turns, pushing to the absolute limit to crack the terrifying beast's natural defense. The jelly body starts shaking and sweating buckets, pushing his cells to the max just to scrape any nutrients off it. But the system quickly shuts down his plans, warning that the massive level gap caused the decomposition to fail and gave him serious internal cell damage. Violently rejected by the enemy's armor, the wannabe top-tier hunter loses dozens of HP in a row just for trying to swallow something way out of his league. Out of options to keep from dying on the spot, our MC triggers amputation and chops off the entire part of his body glued to the dangerous scale. The detached piece hits the dirt floor, while the giant beast keeps slowly moving through the swampy forest, completely ignoring the tiny parasite. Landing on a safe branch, the little monster regens 1 HP and grumbles angrily that he should have focused purely on leveling his eating skill first. Frustrated watching the valuable loot walk away, he complains he doesn't have the storage space to take a piece, and swears he'll come back as soon as his absorption levels up. Suddenly, the whole ground starts shaking violently, and the confused little blob suspects an earthquake is hitting the swamp. The monstrous centipede bursts from the soil in a brutal attack, smashing the heavy trees like they were fragile little twigs. Charging brutally, the ancient monster rears up, ripping a colossal crater while the shockwave of its movement spreads total chaos everywhere. Caught in the blast zone, our MC uses his shooting skill to try and escape the impact area as fast as humanly possible. Even high up in a massive tree, he realizes in terror that even his hiding spot got wrecked by the destruction, and there's no easy way out. Yeeted far away by the giant's brute force, the yellow slime flies out of control, tumbling through the air of the gloomy swamp. With a ton of effort, he finally sticks a safe landing on a faraway log, taking a deep breath and feeling relieved he didn't turn to dust. Curled up pathetically on the wood, the blob cries out of fear, admitting the outside world is a terrifying and overly scary place. Sad and defeated, he accepts that his ego has no place here, deciding his only play is to go back to hiding quietly while eating minor loot to grow. Deep inside the dark hole left by the monster, the centipede's massive carcass glows, marking the path the gigantic creature tore through. The monstrous beast with endless sharp legs lets out a terrifying roar, proving it rules that zone with absolutely zero mercy. Far away from all the danger, the map shows the slime managed to get plenty of distance from the giant bug and the magic owl, securing his survival for now. Checking out a sturdy log in the dense woods, our MC declares he found the perfect spot to set up a temporary base until tomorrow. Once on solid wood, he triggers his focused dissolution skill to melt the surface and carve a small, safe hideout into the tree. Inside his newly made bunker, The slime decides to keep the entrance tight and only widen the inside to block any bigger monsters from breaking in. Super hyped about his own engineering project, he focuses up, announcing that construction on his new house is officially underway. The jelly worker stretches all over the inside of the log, melting the old wood in every direction to make his room roomier. To fully secure the spot, the yellow blob plants a slightly toxic mushroom right at the front door to act as a stinky alarm system. Laying comfortably on his makeshift moss bed, the little monster lets out a sigh of relief, feeling the much-needed rest finally kick in. From the outside, the perfect hideaway has its door blocked by the fungus and looks totally natural, getting the job done flawlessly. The system even pulls up the genius architectural blueprint, proving the narrow choke point protects the main chamber exactly how he drew it up. Tired from working, our MC shapes his own body mass into a strong arm to hold a dry twig. Lazily munching on his woody snack, he celebrates finally being a homeowner, maxing out his inner peace. But the chill vibe doesn't last long, and an annoying buzzing invades the log, making the tenant endlessly complain about the noisy racket. Super pissed at the hellish noise, the slime peeks through the hole holding his venomous weapon, demanding the intruders shut up right now. Looking out at the trees, he gets shocked by the ridiculous amount of giant flying wasps. Realizing why it sounded like jet engines revving, the monstrous swarm cuts through the swamp air looking dangerous, sparking a crazy new idea in the blob's clever mind. The massive swarm of killer wasps slices through the forest air at high speeds, hunting for prey. Hiding in his hole, our MC chills happily while the system pings, confirming the targets were taken down. Outside, the flying beasts frantically swarm around the small entrance in the tree. Without second guessing, the bugs dive headfirst right into the dark, hollow log. More and more wasps keep flying into the death trap, completely blind to the incoming danger. Shortly after, a small, satisfied sigh quietly slips out of the wooden opening. Inside, the yellow blob is covered in bug corpses, flexing that he's become a literal human-sized flytrap. Buzzing near the hideout, some latecomer wasps keep up their patrol through the swamp. The scenery shows the ancient, massive trees maintaining a tense vibe in the damp zone. Meanwhile, outside, the little slime chills on a high branch, eyeing a round object hanging up ahead. Staring hard at the giant thing, he confirms with a sneaky tone that he finally found their nest. Just then, the jelly hunter notices some sketchy movement coming his way through the air. An absolutely massive swarm rises from the trunk, and our MC is stunned by the ridiculous number of bugs. Watching the beasts dive, he tells them to bring it on, remembering he's immune to piercing and wants to eat them all at once. In a violent rush, the cloud of wasps completely blankets the little yellow blob on the branch. The wasps start vibrating together, generating extreme heat that makes the system warn him about imminent cellular death. Taking continuous damage from overheating, the slime panics, unable to believe these bugs know how to pull off a thermal trick. Trying to shake off the hellish heat, he triggers his internal shot and blows up his own mass, firing in every direction. But one of the beasts blocks the counter with a tough magic shield made of beeswax. Using the perfect defense, the bug pushes forward and smacks our MC hard with a heavy hit. Pinned against the branch, he instantly realizes the monsters guarding the nest are insanely more dangerous than the regular grunts. Suddenly, a totally different, much larger wasp enters the fray, holding some kind of magic wand. The flying creature waves its staff, sparking some serious mysterious energy in the air. With a swarm summoning spell, dozens of new shield guards pop up, flying straight at the invader. The system pulls up the different enemy classes, and our MC gets super tense seeing that this evolved bug actually uses spells. Staring the blob down, the insect mage lets out a deep, super threatening buzz. Following the leader's command, the entire battalion of elite soldiers dives to crush the threat. Wasting no time, the yellow monster readies his cytoplasm shot again. Focusing all his strength, he rapid fires chunks of his own body at the violently approaching squad. The jelly bullets cut through the air, slamming straight into the enemy's unbreakable shield wall. Taking a beating and losing tons of HP, he gets frustrated by the numbers disadvantage, since every shot burns his precious body mass. Luckily, the adventurer is stuck to a giant tree and starts decomposing the wood to constantly heal himself on loop. Up in the air, the bugs keep their guard up, flying with the heavy yellow wax wall leading the charge. Firing at the barricades, he complains that he only has one rock left in his inventory to boost his damage. Seeing the slime's attack fail, the beast battalion dives for another coordinated strike. The monster swarm runs over the little blob, squishing his soft body without showing an ounce of mercy. Covered up once again, our MC finds it hilarious that the enemies are just serving themselves up on a silver platter at his door. Stuck in the chaos, he focuses on his lethal skill of eating targets bit by bit. Keeping up his ruthless act, he claims he has no choice but to chow down on this feast sent from heaven. Checking his internal storage, The system confirms he looted wasp spears and stingers, warning that he's hit the capacity limit. Using his new natural weapon, he fires a giant stinger with massive force right at the aerial squad. The blunt impact of the spear rips through the wax shield, piercing the guard wasp and triggering a huge explosion up high. Shocked by his ally's sudden defeat, the mage waves its wand, buzzing with pure rage. Realizing the extreme danger, the commander calls a retreat, and the whole squad backs off toward the nest. Dripping with arrogance, the slime crosses his imaginary arms and asks if they finally realize his true power level. Ignoring the enemy's cockiness, the mage waves its staff, rapidly casting a new spell in the air. A glowing golden sphere takes shape, gathering a very suspicious amount of energy. Mesmerized, the little monster drools over it, thinking it's delicious honey and wanting to take a bite. But the sweet illusion dies when the sorcerer pops a beginner spell and sets the sticky ball on fire instantly. The brutal firestorm drops from the sky like absolute hell, aiming straight for the wooden branch. Eating 70 damage in a blink, the blob screams in panic, feeling the deadly heat fry his body. Prepping more fireballs, the flying commander mocks the invader's panic, showing off its total dominance. Sliding down the trunk to run away, the slime figures out that fire mixed with honey is his ultimate weak spot and decides to bail out immediately. Mid-sprint, one of the chain explosions tags his back, doing even more damage. Cornered with barely any escape routes left, our MC turns back, launching his focused shot one more time. The jelly balls fly through the wind, hoping to knock down the relentless chasers. But the guards bravely step in front of the leader, popping their thick shields to block the Pre's line of sight. Linking their individual defenses, the bugs form a heavy double barrier, creating a nearly unbreakable magic wall. Super frustrated by this total overkill, our MC complains that the monsters even buff their defenses when fighting in groups. Because of that, the green attacks explode, splashing slime against the glowing barrier without putting a scratch on the enemy line. Pressing the tactical advantage, the magic leader casts its swarm summon way more aggressively this time. From inside the giant nest, dozens of tiny flaming wasps burst out going crazy, ready for lethal combat. The glowing suicide squad dives, tearing through the sky straight toward the moving prey. The slime expertly slides down the side of the giant trunk, dodging while the fire monsters crash into the thick bark. Several violent blasts shatter the wood, sending dangerous flames shooting all over the forest. Even though he's super fast, the massive chain reaction catches the blob with a grazing hit, launching him away from the tree. The yellow hunter lands hard on a lower branch, feeling the heavy damage from the non-stop bombardment. Proudly waving its wand, the mage orders a strict sweep of the whole area to finish the job once and for all. Trembling with pain and sheer terror, the little monster stays squeezed under the branch, praying he goes totally unnoticed. The scout squad hovers over the treetops, scanning the perimeter without spotting the invader huddled right under them, but pulling a crazy upset on all his enemies. Our MC lets go of the branch and drops on purpose, falling straight into the middle of the battalion. Up high, the veteran sorcerer notices the prey's sudden drop, completely shocked by such insane guts. In a fit of extreme rage, the bug quickly casts a colossal fireball to wipe the slime from existence. The massive, destructive sphere drops, sweeping the air, hitting its own wasps, and going straight for the falling blob. A devastating and violent impact strikes the forest floor, kicking up a massive cloud of scorching destruction everywhere. The massive explosion wipes the forest floor with a violent boom, while our MC hides safely just out of reach. Drained from the magic push, the flying bugs just hover there panting after dropping that nuke. When the smoke finally clears, the scene only shows scorched earth and wrecked debris, with zero sign of the target. Convinced it won the fight, the insect mage stares at the crater, waiting to confirm the little blob is dead for good. Just then, some grunts from the squad roll up carrying big chunks of crystallized honey, but the leader senses something off and goes on high alert. Spotting some sketchy movement, pulling a sneak attack, the real slime drops right on top of the precious cargo, bragging that he caught them all lacking. Freaking out over the breach, the guards speed up their flight, carrying the slime straight into their own base. Chilling in the honey, the invader talks trash, saying the main army is stuck outside and these few grunts can't stop him. Spilling his big brain plan, he explains he spent the whole time digging a tunnel through the tree straight into the enemy nest. To guarantee it worked, he burned 150 HP creating a flawless clone just to play bait. With the bugs entirely hyper-focused on the decoy, he had an open lane to stealth his way right into their turf. Sliding fast through the internal tunnels, the blob pushes forward, scouting the massive hive's pathways. Spreading his jelly veins across the nest walls, the invader triggers his focused search skill. The slime's web blankets the whole structure, scanning every nook and cranny to find exactly what he needs in there. Searching one room, the hunter finds nothing but trash, and complains that his target isn't there. He peeks down another hallway packed with giant maggots and nopes out of that spot real quick. Soon, our MC finds a massive hall completely bathed in golden light and discovers the giant honey stash. Drooling over it, he decides to save the sweets for later, knowing exactly what his main objective in here is. With a quick hop, he sticks the landing on a wooden surface deep in the hive. Staring down his prey, the little monster celebrates, finally finding exactly who he was looking for. The giant queen wasp is just lounging on the floor, casually munching on a chunk of meat. But the elite squad pulls up right behind the slime to protect their supreme leader. The armed guards prep to strike, surrounding the invader with pure rage. Being way faster, our MC swallows the queen whole and warns the guards not to take another step. Trapped inside the jelly, the beast tries to break free, making noises of absolute panic. Out of options, the soldiers back down, hesitating to attack because they're terrified of hurting their commander. Giving into the blackmail, the entire squad lowers their shields, surrendering to save their master's life. Watching the enemies bow down, the blob asks with heavy sarcasm if they don't want to try to negotiate. With a brutal, merciless hit, the slime crushes the queen, making a massive mess everywhere. The elite guard goes into total shock seeing their leader taken out in cold blood. Instantly, the entire hive collapses and the flying swarm flees in panic, abandoning the base. Chaos takes over the tunnels, with the bugs dropping their precious loot to save their own skins. Hitting level 17, the assassin concludes that without the queen, these weak bugs just revert to their basic instincts. A quiet night finally falls over the dark trees of the Great Swamp. The system pings, letting him know eating bug leftovers won't give XP anymore and his extra HP is about to vanish. Checking his own stats, he spots his level up and notices a new central command skill hitting level 2. Surprised by the new feature, the little monster wonders why he got a leadership skill when he plays strictly solo. Bummed out trying to level up decomposition with points, he finds out the skill only grinds by actually eating more stuff. But the sadness fades fast when he sees his inventory is packed with delicious honey and high-tier loot he jacked from the nest. Sliding calmly across the dark grass, the adventurer feels completely exhausted after such a long, brutal day. Stopping for a sec to look at the full moon, he reflects on having mixed feelings, even though he's just a heartless blob. Thinking back on all the prey he recently devoured, the hunter admits his survival run just took a dark turn. Far away in a small wooden house, a crab kid complains that his dad is taking forever to come home. The mom, wearing an apron, calms her son down, explaining that her husband had to stay late entertaining important clients. She reminds him that the dad works super hard for the family, and the boy agrees, looking a bit down. The clock on the wall ticks, showing it's getting pretty late into the night. Super worried, the mom grabs her phone, assuming her husband got wasted, and decides to go look for him. Walking down the dark street, the woman tells her son to keep it down and not wake the neighbors. Just then, they spot a sketchy silhouette stumbling back and forth at the end of the street. Excited by the find, the little crab recognizes the shape and yells for his dad. The kid runs toward the guy while the mom chuckles, saying her drunk husband is walking the wrong way home. The child happily runs up to the aquatic monster, suspecting absolutely nothing. Suddenly, the dad turns around, revealing his zombified body controlled by slime, taunting them by saying he tasted delicious. The kid screams in absolute horror, and the slime's mind goes into a tailspin, realizing he became the bad guy of the story. Back in the swamp's reality, the real blob lets out a heavy sigh, shaking those dramatic fantasies out of his head. Blaming his human brain for the guilt trip, he accepts there's no changing the cruel rules of this world. Staring into the dark, the hunter reaffirms that the law of the jungle rules everything, and hunting is his only shot at survival. Deciding to push forward, our MC drops from the tree to rescue the clone he left behind during the fight. Bouncing nimbly through the night brush, the little monster wonders what other curveballs the swamp is going to throw at him today. Pushing through the thick vegetation, the traveler spots a warm, welcoming glow lighting up the trees ahead. Our MC freezes for a second, totally shocked by the unexpected light source. Super carefully, he sneaks behind a thick log, spying on where all that brightness is coming from. Hope sparks in his head that he finally found other people, and he decides to scope out the situation up close. The scene reveals a chill camp where a warrior stands guard by the fire while talking to his partner. Hiding in the bushes, the little slime almost loses his mind with joy, confirming they're actually real human adventurers. The girl, named Naya, wakes up on top of a giant boar, praising how comfy the beast is and banking on it to find the way. The warrior, Rake, apologizes, taking the blame for getting them lost while hunting for their guild master. Explaining the tense situation, he says magic comms went down and nobody could have predicted the swamp getting this sketchy. But the captain swears their leader is insanely strong and came out here on a secret mission assigned by the Pope himself. Flashing back, he mentions the master founded the guild 10 years ago, built on teamwork and zero shady business. The rapid growth ended up drawing the church's suspicion, and the leader vanished completely after taking that risky job. Without their master's protection for 2 long years, the guild fell off and lost almost all its members to rivals. Looking at the fire, the captain thanks the girl for being the only one to answer the call to rescue their boss. Super grateful, the adventurer replies she only made it in this career because the master took in her useless class. The mage swears she doesn't need to worry about finding a new home if something happens to their boss, but the girl tells her teammate to shut his mouth and go to sleep, immediately apologizing for snapping at him. Hidden in the brush, the little slime hangs onto every word of their chat. The little monster gets confused by terms like guild and church. Realizing he needs to listen closer to gather intel, focused on finding out more, he stretches his jelly veins across the floor to try and boost his hearing. The blob slowly creeps through the dark grass toward the lit campsite. However, the human notices the sketchy movement and warns that a monster is rolling up. Without skipping a beat, the mage casts an ice spell that impales the slime from below. The system alerts that the freezing attack was super effective, slashing the MC's speed down to almost 0. Playing it cool, the guy tells his partner not to panic, while her pet boar is already on high alert. But looking at the ice spike, both adventurers are totally clueless as to what they're looking at. Just then, the girl's beast lets out a grunt and charges the frozen target. With a fast move, the big pig bites the ice and yanks the slime right off it. Our MC goes into absolute panic, feeling the crushing bite of that huge animal. Desperate, the slime is fully convinced it's game over while being carried around like a shoe toy. The blob's mind flashes a game over screen, positive he's about to become bored dinner. But the girl quickly steps in, commanding her pet not to eat the little guy. She scolds the beast, explaining they shouldn't alive harmless monsters, and orders it to drop the prey. Obeying its owner, the boar spits the jelly ball onto the ground, looking pretty disgusted. The adventurer gently scoops up the little slime with both hands. Giving him a sweet look, she mentions he seems familiar and asks if he wants to form a monster contract with her. Tearing up, our MC cries tears of joy, thinking he just met an angel, and accepts the offer instantly. But the mage tells his partner to quit playing around and not waste mana on such a low-tier slime. She agrees, looking kinda bummed, and sets the little monster down, who realizes they can't hear his voice. Determined to change things, the hunter gets a big, brain idea to communicate. The blob starts wiggling all over, prepping his body to show off what he can do. He stretches his veins across the dirt, forming a complex drawing right in front of the two humans. The mage points it out, showing his partner what's happening on the ground. Proud of his masterpiece, the slime figures they're finally gonna notice his genius IQ. However, the mage thinks the monster is just leaking garbage, and the girl agrees it's super gross. Extremely frustrated, the little monster gives up on contact, accepting that the language barrier is his biggest roadblock. Watching them leave, he decides it's better to bolt, before they end up taking him out just for being a weird freak. Later on, the scene cuts to the calm shore of a dark lake, lit only by the moonlight. Hearing the leaves rustle, the slime shakes with fear, remembering that terrifying owl that almost wiped him out. Not wanting to get caught slipping, our MC instantly pops his central command skill. The skill triggers a magic radar that starts beeping, scanning the whole area around him. The hunter stares into the thick woods, catching a different vibe coming from the trees ahead. A wave of recognition hits him, connecting the little monster to something right up front. Locked in on the search, he carefully tracks the direction his new radar is pointing. Amazed by the skill's power, he realizes he's sensing the exact location of his own split body. Wasting no time, the blob dashes through the dark brush, desperate to grab his missing piece back ASAP. The signal gets stronger and stronger as he slides through the undergrowth. Suddenly, the adventurer stops dead, mind blown by what he finds in the middle of the path. The clone he left behind got massive after decomposing a ridiculous amount of stuff. Super happy, he uses the recovery skill, absorbing all that mass and scoring a ton of XP. With his energy topped off, the little monster speeds through the woods, hunting for the rest of his missing pieces. Finding another clone, he pulls off another fusion, and the system lets him know his poison resistance leveled up. The hunt continues with him absorbing yet another piece, finally hitting level 22. Our MC slides happily over the dry leaves, feeling himself getting stronger by the minute. But his radar pings again, warning that the next tracking signal is getting super weak. Worried about his XP stash, the slime frantically searches for his missing piece. Peeking carefully over the roots, he spots his lost part near some big mushrooms. But the hype dies when he sees a toothy snail snacking on his precious clone. Furious at the bug's nerve, the slime charges in, telling the trespasser to beat it right now. After scaring off the aggro critter, our MC merges with the remaining chunk, which was trembling with fear. Going full drama mode, he cries, hugging his own mass, promising to protect his baby from any other danger. But the rustle of leaves right behind him makes the little monster whip around in panic to check it out. In the blink of an eye, a giant tongue whips through the air, flattening the nearby mushrooms in a lethal strike. A massive frog shows up, casually chewing on that toothy snail right in front of the blob. Totally outraged by the kill steal, the adventurer glares at the amphibian, holding back pure rage. Crying tears of pure hate, the blob vows the gross frog is gonna pay in blood for hurting his baby. Without a second thought, he pops his barrage skill, firing off a heavy jelly projectile. The brutal hit smacks the amphibian right in the face, knocking the beast back with the impact. Cocky as ever, our MC flexes, thinking he's finally strong enough to easily take on that giant swamp owl. But the celebration is cut short when he realizes his opponent didn't even flinch. The big frog opens its giant mouth, showing it swallowed the whole attack without taking a scratch. Using its powerful legs, the amphibian takes a massive leap, flying right over the little slime. The beast lands heavy, sinking straight into the dark lake waters with a huge splash. Refusing to let his prey run, the adventurer jumps onto a rock, ready to throw down. From the other bank, the frog just floats in the water, taunting the invader with zero fear. Blinded by rage, our MC Rapid fires a barrage of attacks straight at the surface. But the jelly shots just splash water and don't leave a single scratch on the enemy. Shielded by the depth, the frog swims smoothly along the bottom, dodging everything with ease. Super frustrated by the matchup, the hunter realizes he has no real way to fight an aquatic monster. But breaking the water's silence, the giant jumps out with everything it's got, kicking off its counter-attack. Watching the jump, the slime talks trash, saying amphibians have to come up for air, and now the enemy is done for. But the giant sticks a solid landing on the surface. Mouth wide open and tongue out, the beast uses all its strength for a massive leap at the prey. The jump is so heavy it shatters the nearby wood, while the creature locks onto the target. Without hesitating, our MC triggers his barrage, firing off several jelly spheres at the flying enemy. The projectiles smack the monster right in the face with a lot of impact. Using the distraction, the blob quickly stretches one of his tentacles far out. He firmly wraps his extension around a nearby tree branch. Swinging away, the adventurer realizes the frog was just baiting him into the water, where it had the upper hand. Even with a busted, bleeding face, the amphibian stays laser, focused on the fight. The beast lets out a deep croak that echoes across the whole area. Then, our MC ends up falling right toward the enemy and notices he burned through all his rocks on the last attack. Out of options, he decides to shoot first and ask questions later, firing another barrage of slime downward. But the giant just opens its mouth and swallows every single shot like it's nothing. After the snack, the monster lands heavily on the tree trunk, ready for its next move. Instantly, the frog's tongue shoots out like a whip. The strike hits the slime dead on, grabbing his jelly body while he cusses at the situation. Yanked with extreme force, the adventurer gets dragged across the tree bark, completely trapped. Desperate, he shapes a slime hand and grips the rough bark, trying to hit the brakes. Our MC ends up dangling, shaking with panic as the tongue pulls him toward his doom. Down below, the amphibian pulls even harder to reel in its dinner once and for all. Reacting fast, the little monster molds a sharp spike out of his own mass. Getting pulled straight into the enemy's open maw, the slime preps for the counter. The makeshift spear violently pierces the roof of the giant's mouth, making a huge mess. With the devastating impact, the creature gets thrown backward, coughing up fluids in the air. Stuck to the tree, our MC sighs in relief, commenting that was way too close. The giant's body sinks into the dark waters of the swamp. Only red ripples are left on the surface of the quiet lake. Bummed out, the adventurer complains it's a shame the body fell in the water, locking him out of the decomposition XP. Suddenly, a massive impact hits the tree, catching the little monster completely off guard. The base of the huge trunk simply explodes into pieces under a crushing force. Losing support, the entire tree starts collapsing toward the swamp. Out of the shadows, the frog emerges, now weirdly white with glowing red eyes. Kicking off its holy drop, the adventurer is totally baffled, asking what the heck that thing is amid all the noise. Completely transformed, the monster launches its new body through the air, flashing sharp claws. Instead of one, the beast fires two tongues made of pure red energy at insane speed. The red whips shred the wood exactly where our MC was sitting a second ago. Acting on instinct, the slime stretches to the max, trying to bounce out of there as fast as possible. He shoots his jelly arm out, snagging a safe branch further ahead. Using the momentum, the blob starts swinging nimbly through the trees to escape that nightmare. Flying through the air, he wonders if this is the enemy's phase 3 and figures running is the best play against these odds. Looking back mid-flight, the little monster doubles down on the idea that bailing is definitely the smart move. But the nightmare keeps going as the mutant amphibian chases him like a maniac from below. Relentless, the beast aims and fires its red whip straight at the moving prey. Eyes wide, the creature yanks the strike back, convinced it caught the target. The lethal hit tags the slime, tearing his structure and dealing an absurd 199 damage. Hurting from the wound, he notices the fluid is so toxic not even his resistance can handle it. Right after, the mutant creature fires its normal tongue at the victim again. The muscle grabs the blob mid-air and violently slams him down from up high, spitting out chunks upon hitting the bottom. Our MC only loses 1 HP, realizing how crazy his physical resistance is. But the system flashes a pressure warning, and the adventurer panics, seeing he fell into the water. Taking advantage of the vulnerability, the giant charges in fast with its jaw wide open. The frog swallows the little monster in one gulp, giving him zero chance to block. The brutal move kicks up water, leaving the lake eerily calm right after. The mutant beast closes its lips, happily finishing off the snack. Chilling in the shallow water, the bug lets out a victorious croak. Inside the dark stomach, the acid melts the slime, draining 33 HP per second. In agony, the prey realizes he needs to break out fast before he gets fully digested. Outside, the amphibian just chills in its territory, suspecting nothing. Out of options, our MC uses all his strength in a desperate bid to force the jaws open from the inside. The amphibian feels a sudden H in the water while the prey bets everything on this final play. The monster's entire body starts bubbling and bloating in a super weird way. Under insane internal pressure, the giant's red eyes almost pop out of its skull, leaking fluids. Using the pressure difference, the slime absorbs all the surrounding water to grow, swearing he's gonna inflate the enemy until it pops. The creature thrashes around, bloated to the max, having no clue how that thing is still growing inside it. Pulling out all the stops, our MC frantically chugs all his stored wasp honey, scoring a massive continuous healing buff. Fueled by the huge buff, the blob expands monstrously, promising to choke the opponent out from the inside. Pushed past its limit, the frog explodes violently, sending monster guts and goo flying everywhere. Breaking through the enemy's remains, the adventurer emerges massive, crushing whatever was left of the predator. The huge green mountain chills in the rain while the system confirms the win and the absorption of new antibodies. Looking at himself, our MC is blown away by how incredibly giant he actually got. The glowing panel confirms max pressure regulation and shows his HP spiked over 11,000. The new skill perfectly balances the vital fluids of his colossal body. Satisfied, he figures the new size lets him handle water pressure changes and celebrates the surprise loot. But panic hits instantly when he realizes his 10,000 extra HP will vanish in less than an hour. It all starts with the yellow blob just sitting there, thinking about the massive achievement of emptying his inventory. In his imagination, he turns into a colossal monster, wrecking buildings and terrifying a whole city. Then a genius idea sparks in his head, reminding him of a super famous game about rolling a sticky ball. Our MC starts rolling through the forest, swallowing trees and racking up insane XP in the process. Diving into the water, he charges ahead, forming a giant mass that sweeps up the fish in his path. At the bottom of the river, the aquatic animals try to swim away, but get ruthlessly sucked in by the blob's pull. With a powerful jump, the giant slime bursts through the surface, taking a bunch of prey with him. Even adapted to the pressure, he complains that the water resistance makes moving way too much work. So the hunter decides it's better to head back to dry land, to save himself the effort. The yellow monster slides heavily, getting out of the lake and dragging himself onto the bank. The peaceful shore vibe is quickly ruined by the giant slime's intimidating presence. Rolling across the ground, he keeps up his destructive strat, absorbing rocks and plants. The path he takes gets totally wrecked, leaving nothing but empty craters in the dirt. A pair of wild squirrels notices the bizarre approach and freezes in fear, totally clueless on what to do. The colossal slime stops right in front of the little critters and drops a super friendly greeting. With a violent thud, the blob smashes the ground next to them, kicking up dirt everywhere, to the little squirrel's surprise. He just says he's taking the fish and dips out. The two little animals are left sweating bullets, absolutely baffled by that weird interaction. Sliding through the woods, the slime figures he doesn't need to kill everything randomly, and sparing cute animals proves he's still human. Suddenly, he spots another rodent holding a nut right nearby. But the little animal goes into attack mode, and its body gets engulfed in flames. The squirrel fires a violent fireball straight at the invader. Taking heavy combo damage, our MC panics, realizing fire magic is super effective. Furious at the unprovoked attack, he warns that if the little guy started it, he's gonna have to deal with the consequences. The blob crushes the critter with zero mercy, reminding everyone that playing with fire in the forest is strictly banned. The system confirms the win, leaving nothing but a crispy skeleton behind. Out of nowhere, the ground shakes, and sharp roots violently tear through the dirt. A massive lizard monster jumps back, startled, trying to dodge the sneak attack. The real threat reveals itself as a monstrous tree with a glowing core in its chest. The scaled beast roars furiously at the new challenger that just popped up. Wasting no time, the lizard fires a powerful blast of acid from its mouth. The green attack hits the wooden creature dead on, spreading poison everywhere. The plant beast's trunk starts melting fast under the corrosive goo. Watching from a distance, the slime hurls a massive ball of his own body right at the brawl. The impact smacks the top of the giant tree, grabbing both monsters' attention. Shrugging off the damage, the wooden beast speeds up its region, spawning new branches instantly. Prepping a counter, the lizard growls, charging up energy for a brutal strike. Using its wild dash skill, the beast charges full speed at the plant enemy. Playing defense, the monstrous tree swings its thick vines like razor-sharp whips. Super agile, the reptile dodges every hit, jumping over the dangerous vines. The lizard sticks a firm landing on the grass, already plotting its next move, but the vines quickly loop back, wrapping around the scaled creature's arms. On the freshly grown branches, small cocoons start sprouting at crazy speed. The weird flowers bloom, showing off a seriously threatening inside. The beast's eyes go wide, realizing the lethal danger is right in its face. The cocoons pop, releasing an acid cloud that blinds the lizard in a massive spray of fluids. Desperate from the extreme pain, the monster flails its arms, tearing the vines with its claws. Free from the trap, it takes a violent leap backward, getting out of range. The reptile lands panting, eyes bleeding, and absolutely livid about the injury. Ignoring the pain, it drops into attack stance, pressing its heavy body against the ground. Popping its magic vision, the scaled creature switches to heat vision to track the target. Using infrared, the beast tracks the tree's life force even though it's completely blind. Taking a monstrous leap, the reptile jumps, tearing up the dirt under its paws. Mid-air, the monster spins its body at high speed, creating a crazy spiral attack. Its sharp tail acts like a saw, slicing the plant enemy from top to bottom. The surgical strike ends with the lizard landing nimbly on the grass. Behind it, the tree's body splits in half, leaking purple fluids all over the cracked trunk. Drooling everywhere, the winner of the fight pants, feeling the massive exhaustion from the brutal brawl. Starving, the blind monster approaches to slurp the sap from the opponent's carcass. Suddenly, an overwhelming mass drops from the sky, swallowing the scaled beast with zero warning. The thermal vision shows the lizard getting completely crushed by the colossal structure of the new threat. The slime system confirms an unknown object is present and grants the XP for the successful hunt. Giant and full of trash, our MC wonders what that bizarre object he accidentally swallowed was. Worried about the timer, he goes back to rolling through the forest, eager to soak up as many resources as possible. Stopping dead in his tracks, he finds the situation weird, calculating that the area he cleared should be way bigger by now. The colossal slime stares out at the vast woods, thinking the tree density looks super sketchy. Suddenly, the horizon seems to sway, and he wonders in shock if the earth itself is moving under him. Far away in the night shadows, the peak of a living mountain pierces the starry swamp sky. Completely paralyzed, the giant blob just watches the bizarre event unfold, totally frozen. He literally feels the pressure of standing in front of something ridiculously larger than his own brain can process. Disoriented, our MC asks himself if he just saw a magic light streak across the sky without making a sound. Right then, the system warns that his bonus timer is up and starts draining his extra energy all at once. Deflating fast like a pop balloon, he shrinks right back to his original, harmless size on the grass. The glowing panel shows his new stats, highlighting the impressive milestone of hitting level 49. Super happy with the final result, the adventurer celebrates making it this far despite all the chaos. Checking the system, the slime notes the nutritional overload is gone and wonders if this weak creature is the final boss of the tutorial. With that, he decides to empty his entire storage, puking up a ton of trash and complaining that he feels kinda sick. Our MC keeps throwing everything up into a massive pile of random loot, unable to stand that awful feeling anymore. A waterfall of old bones and broken weapons crashes onto the ground, forming a literal mountain of junk around the little blob. Totally drained after the weird cleans, he sighs in relief, chilling next to the pile of garbage. Alone in the dark forest, the adventurer mentions feeling way lighter, but isn't sure what to do since he won't get XP for an hour. Soon, a system panel pops up, letting him know that at level 60, he can choose to change classes or evolve. Hyped by the message, the little monster figures this is exactly the way for a creature in this world to get insanely strong. The system explains the new class lets him mimic any shape, and these changes are the first step to gaining true consciousness. Hearing that, the blob instantly pictures a giant humanoid form, laughing it up thinking he's gonna learn magic and take over the whole world. Suddenly, a super loud buzz cuts through the forest as fast shadows fly right over him. The real threat reveals itself as a squad of giant wasps armed with razor, sharp stingers patrolling the dark area. Surprised, our MC recognizes the magic bugs, thinking it's super weird to see 3 of them flying together like that. Driven by curiosity, the adventurer takes a quick jump, deciding to tail the bugs to see what's going down. Reaching a hidden spot behind the trees, he peeks at the scene and runs into a massive swamp area completely infested. Dozens of colossal hives are linked together over the dark water, forming a literal military base for the giant wasps. Shocked by the insane scale of the place, the slime wonders if this is an evolved version of the swarm working as a massive collective. The buzzing in the air is deafening as thousands of bugs patrol the zone on high alert. Without any warning, a gigantic paw with razor, sharp claws steps right on the hives, crushing the structure and pissing off the wasps. A monstrous 2-headed bird crashes the territory, pecking at the bugs' houses like it owns the place. The winged beast sinks its beak into the ruined hive, devouring a bunch of white grubs and celebrating the amazing feast. Hidden away, our MC recognizes the monster from before, just noting its feathers are a different color and recalling the pure terror he felt. Totally ignoring the danger, the giant bird rips another huge chunk off the structure while the swarm starts gathering up in a rage. Several wasps dive in, stinging the invader's wings with everything they've got, but the stingers can't pierce the natural armor of its thick feathers. The beast's snake head just watches the bugs bouncing off its scaly face without doing any real damage. Seeing basic attacks aren't working, thousands of wasps cover the giant bird's entire body, forming a black cloud around it. But with a single violent shake, the bird yeets almost the entire swarm away, showing who's boss in the swamp. Falling back high into the air, the bugs open dozens of glowing magic circles, prepping a casted attack that leaves the monster confused. Using the magic circle, one of the wasps fires a rain of blazing flames straight down at the enemy. The attack rains on the ground, triggering a chain of brutal explosions that completely engulf the bird in pure fire. Amazed by the impact, the adventurer realizes this destructive power is way higher, proving the bugs evolved a ton too. Trapped in the firestorm, the winged monster thrashes and screams in pain as the flames burn its magic feathers. With a powerful flap of its wings, the beast clears the explosion, blowing a gust of wind that puts out the fire around it. Panting, the bird's main head reveals a completely red and scorched look, absolutely furious about the damage it just took. Refusing to quit, the wasps regroup in the air, buzzing loudly to prep the next wave of lethal attacks on the invader. Popping its special skill, the bird's snake head perfectly tracks the body heat of every single bug hidden in the smoke. Using the advantage, the reptile strikes at light speed, tearing through the air straight toward the clustered swarm. The snake's giant mouth snaps up several wasps at once, swallowing the bugs in a ruthless sneak attack. Suddenly, a massive mutant porcupine pops out of nowhere, firing its sharp quills at the surviving bees. Seeing the bodies drop, the slime figures the bird turned red from absorbing the flames, and the main goal is to alive the queen bee first. Out of nowhere, a magic ice spike shoots up, piercing one of the bird's wings and freezing its feathers fast. A group of humans steps out of the shadows identifying the beast, and the warrior leader tells everyone to stay sharp since the thing is Lord level. Hidden in the mud, the yellow monster recognizes the hunters from earlier, surprised they came to take down that specific weird bird. Annoyed by the extreme cold, the winged monster tries to pull the magic stake out, shaking its body to break free from the cheap spell. Using pure brute force, the creature shatters the ice into 1,000 glowing pieces, breaking the enemy magic with an angry roar. With the bird focused on them now, the leader orders his mage to prep an advanced ice spell while he buys some time. Super confident, the sorcerer smiles, thanking the captain for the carry and promising to drop the beast with a single lethal hit. Without letting him finish talking, the giant bird charges, doing a violent dive bomb with its sharp claws aimed straight at the human squad. The captain raises his shield, taking the colossal impact of the beast's paw while struggling hard to hold up the insane weight. Gritting his teeth, he feels the enemy's strength, figuring the monster ate a lot to evolve after the great beasts vanished. Using all his might, the human pops a counter skill, repelling the claw and knocking the bird backward instantly. Taking advantage of the gap, the warrior adjusts his stance, fully focused on keeping the monster busy for as long as possible. But the snake head strikes like a whip, attacking cowardly from the swamp water straight at the captain's back. Spotting the fatal danger, the group's girl orders her pet beast to rush in with a quick dash to help her partner. The porcupine lands a brutal headbutt on the bird's chest, throwing the monster off balance, and canceling the venomous strike that would have nailed the ally. Seeing the fangs barely miss his face, the warrior takes a deep breath, commenting in relief that the lethal attempt was way too close. With its heavy body losing balance, the mutant beast desperately flaps its wings to avoid crashing into the dark swamp water. Forcing its balance back, the bird charges up an absurd amount of energy, making its own neck glow in a terrifying way. With zero mercy, the mutant bird opens its beak wide and fires a giant blaze, blanketing the whole area in absolutely hellish heat. The squad panics seeing the danger falling from the sky, realizing that cursed attack is pure magic on par with dragon breath. Knowing they're about to get wiped, the mage slams his glowing staff hard into the ground, yelling they need to defend themselves right now. Instantly, a colossal wall of jagged ice erupts from the earth, creating a massive magic barrier right in front of the humans. The violent crash of the breath against the frozen mountain kicks up a crazy amount of steam as the two elements fight for dominance. Suffering from the constant heat, the defensive structure can't handle the pressure and starts cracking, giving in more and more to the enemy's firepower. The ice shatters completely, turning into melted shards that fly everywhere without protecting the group from the advanced magic. With his spell broken, the human sorcerer grits his teeth, feeling the brutal exhaustion of having his shield completely annihilated. A final shockwave shatters the rest of the shield, scattering glowing debris over the exposed hunters. The hellish flames sweep the swamp, destroying everything, but the adventurers manage to fall back just in time to escape certain doom. Safe behind a rock, the little slime admires the insane clash, wishing he knew how to use magic like that. The group's mage pants tiredly, admitting he burned all his mana for nothing, and is locked out of casting heavy spells for a bit. With no time to cry about it, the captain steps up again, ordering his partner to use her beast to cover him. Taking the order immediately, the porcupine arches its back, bristling its metallic darts ready to light up the flying threat. In a rapid burst, the bug fires dozens of lethal spikes, cutting through the air like a literal machine gun at the enemy monster. Crouched on the wet grass, the leader focuses absolutely all his physical energy, prepping his muscles to break his power limiter. Pushing off his legs, the captain takes a colossal leap, crossing the night sky like a rocket, and leaving a trail of destruction on the water below. Caught slipping by the sudden gap close, the monster's eyes go wide, totally clueless about what's happening. The captain screams his skill name, bringing his glowing mace down at the beast with full force. The brutal hit smashes the bird into the ground, breaking the rocks around it from the sheer weight of the impact. But the snake tail reacts instantly, launching a sneaky strike at the busy warrior's back. The venomous fangs sink deep into the team leader's shoulder, spraying a lot of fluids instantly. Ignoring the terrible pain from the wound, the adventurer just firmly states that the battle is finally over. Seeing the monster down in the mud, the mage praises his partner's grind in taking down a beast of that level. Hidden nearby, the little slime is blown away by the humans' teamwork in beating the threat. Just then, the sorcerer asks the girl to read the carcass's memories to find any clues about their guild master. Suddenly, the snakehead stuck in the warrior's shoulder wakes up, giving the big guy a massive jump scare. Completely covered in fluids, the mutant bird regains consciousness, proving the nightmare isn't over yet. The beast snaps to, opening its hate-filled eye, ready to continue the massacre from earlier. Quick as lightning, the viper fires a sharp ice spike straight from its mouth, aiming right at the enemy's face. The mage steps in, blocking the fatal spell, and tells the tamer to give the captain a healing potion fast. Freaking out, the partner runs to the wounded warrior, pressing the magic flask into his hands. He downs the potion in one gulp, trying to swallow the glowing green lifesaver as quickly as possible. However, the leader's throat turns to stone instantly, making the guy choke without being able to breathe. Within seconds, the fighter's entire body turns into a solid stone statue, falling hard to his knees on the ground. Seeing her friend in that terrifying state, the girl cries in panic, screaming his name in total despair. The sorcerer kills the vibe, saying there's no time to cry, and orders her to run away right now, if she wants to live. Super shaken by the sudden tragedy, the adventurer hesitates, feeling like she can't just abandon her friend. Riding the porcupine, the two bolt while the mage explains the bird stole the warrior's life energy. With that, the giant monster stands up from the wrecked scenery, totally refreshed and thirsty for more victims. The monstrous beast lets out a deafening screech, making it clear it won't let those prey get away easily. Looking back during the frantic sprint, the mage spots the incoming danger and grits his teeth, super stressed. He admits he miscalculated the enemy, but promises the petrification can be cured if they find holy help fast. Furious to see the beast healed so quickly, the sorcerer decides to take control of the fight and cover their retreat. The mutant bird charges at high speed, shattering the swamp water right behind the fleeing duo. Totally terrified with the beast breathing down their necks, the tamer asks her teammate what they should do. Keeping his cool, the ally tells her to save her mana for the getaway while he sets up a defensive strike. Using the power of his glowing staff, the mage conjures a literal ice machine gun, firing off multiple projectiles. The large frozen blocks hit the beast's legs, creating mini ice explosions on every impact. But the huge monster simply ignores the damage, walking right through the magic attack like it's nothing. Gathering a ton of energy in its neck, the bird glows brightly, prepping another max power fire breath. Spotting the fiery trap, the magic warrior tells the girl to ignore the spell and just focus on running. Stopping dead in the mud, the hero realizes he needs to sacrifice himself to stall the big monster's advance. He thanks her for the potion she gave him earlier and swallows the glowing liquid, feeling extreme power flow through his veins. A colossal wall of ice erupts from the ground, splitting the swamp in half, while his teammate screams his name. Shocked by the goodbye, she watches the frozen wall block the path, trapping her teammate on the other side. Choking back bitter tears, the adventurer orders her mount to speed up and disappear into the forest. Dead serious, she promises herself she'll survive to deliver the full report of these horrors to the church. A small blue owl flies out of the girl's hands, taking the lead to scout a safe route ahead. She totally relies on the little animal's boosted vision, but thinks it's weird when the tiny bird suddenly breaks mid-air. The magic bird flaps its wings, trying to push forward, looking like it's crashing into an invisible wall hidden in the dark. Suddenly, the whole owl glows with a sparkling spiritual light, revealing it just touched a holy barrier. Unable to resist the magic purification, the bird gets vaporized, turning into floating energy in the middle of the night. Horrified by the brutal scene, the tamer sweats bullets, barely believing she lost her partner so easily. Just ahead, a gross mountain of defeated monsters and rotting remains is mixed with dropped swords on the ground. Standing chill right in front of the carnage, a heavy, armored knight stares at his system screen. The light window warns the human that his stamina is totally drained and extreme exhaustion damage is about to kick in. Panting under his closed helmet, the swordsman accepts the alert, knowing perfectly well his body is at its limit. Suddenly, the crushed zombies in the mud crawl super fast, merging pieces to form something massive. The pile of meat takes shape, turning into a terrifying chimera packed with beastly mouths growling loudly. With multiple evil eyes, the swamp lord mocks the knight, reminding him he spent years butchering its minions. The monstrous being finds it hilarious that the warrior relies on that weird system and mutters to himself all the time. The dead flesh beast proudly reveals it gathered forces from other worlds just to trap the hero. Super confident, the beast offers one last chance, inviting the exhausted human to become an eternal zombie puppet. Gripping his giant sword tight, the knight replies with pure sarcasm that he'll definitely think about the kind offer. With a lethal spinning move, he slices all the worms around him, making it clear his final answer is wiping them all out. Jumping fast into the dark, the warrior dives straight at the king, proving immortality doesn't scare him. The crawling mass of fused bodies fires dozens of gross claws to snatch the hero hovering in the sky. Acting superior, the giant head warns the human that his flesh is weak and completely out of gas. With a clean swipe of his left arm, the mysterious warrior pops his inventory window mid-attack. Ignoring the beast's trash talk, he tosses a small, fancy flask downward with perfect aim. The glass hits and shatters instantly, dropping a literal storm of pure, concentrated holy water. Staring at that blinding glow in the dark, the forest lord gets confused, unable to recognize the item. Seconds later, a monumental blast of holy light swallows the area, tearing through the dark power like it's nothing. A golden rain falls, cleansing the filth while the warrior lands. Bummed he had to burn that potion now. Burning desperately in the divine flames, the monster curses the knight, demanding to know where he got that. The holy item's bright flames spread, mercilessly devouring the abominations of the cursed forest. The glowing wave annihilates everything, wiping out the deathly rot and clearing out the smaller zombies in its path. Then the alert panel flashes again, warning that the giant target has enough energy to force a heal. Without giving the enemy time to breathe, a massive pillar of pure destructive magic drops straight down, tearing the sky. The insane impact buries the abomination in the ground with such brutal force it kicks up dust and wrecks the floor under it. Striking a victory pose, the swordsman declares that divine magic burns the soul itself, making any healing totally useless. The bizarre beast floats in the air, mocking the hero and letting him know his holy trump card is actually completely useless. The armored knight just stares at the abomination, not understanding how it tanked the holy hit. The lord's glowing core thanks him for the attack, bringing up the dragon emperor's finger the human sliced off earlier. He explains he stumbled on the chopped up carcass and managed to absorb the giant beast's severed part for himself. Being super quick, The big monster immediately triggered the dangerous skill of claiming dead bodies. With that, the abomination reveals the stolen dragon finger was completely soaked in the warrior's holy water. The beast curses the hero, saying he now gets why the guy threw the cursed finger so far away. Flexing its arrogance, the creature reveals the leftover holy water on the stolen piece gave it adaptation against divine magic. 2 colossal stone hands erupt from the ground around the warrior, ready to crush the target. Right then, the terrain collapses under the hero's feet, kicking up a giant cloud of dust and heavy debris. Giving zero chance to run, the rocky palms slam shut, trapping the target in a deadly earth trap. The magic's colossal impact crushes the area, sending violent shockwaves everywhere. The massive crater shows off the insane power of the magic burial spell the monster used. But the warrior reacts, popping his 20 layers of green runes, pulling all the earth element energy around him. Using his magic spear, the swordsman drives the blade straight into the ground, shattering the rocks with ease. The knight breaks out of the stone prison, jumping fast toward the lord with his spear pointed up. The floating beast mocks the useless effort, asking how long he's gonna fight knowing his weapon is breaking. Ignoring the taunt, the hero fires a brutal shockwave in a high, speed-piercing attack. The glowing blade tears the beast's flesh, spraying a ton of red fluids in a super violent hit. Instantly, the system warns that the gear's durability is gone and the human's body has hit peak exhaustion. Bleeding under the helmet, the hero preps a lethal martial art, focusing his strength into a spiral punch. The screen flashes, warning that using this tier of technique in his current state will cause permanent physical damage. Completely locked into the fight, the swordsman dismisses the system warning, saying that doesn't matter right now. The massive force of the strike shatters the hero's magic spear, sending shards flying through the air. The Lord's core takes the direct hit, feeling the insane power up close. A scarlet explosion rips the sky as the punch's piercing force destroys the monster from the inside out. The knight falls to his knees on the rocks, wounded, noticing his left arm got completely wrecked in the process. Even falling apart, the creature's core calls the human a fool, asking why he doesn't just die in peace already. The gross beast, melting into fluids, mocks the hero, asking if he really thinks he can still turn this around somehow. Beaten up on the ground, the warrior admits to himself it was a mistake holding back skills, and he should have dumped all the holy water right away. The massive stolen dragon finger drops from the sky like a meteor, aiming right at the exhausted hero. The Lord declares the fight is over, guaranteeing the human could never beat the entire Holy Sea's forces alone. The shadow of the titanic claw covers the whole battlefield, threatening to squash the warrior like a bug. Staring death in the face, the knight stays completely calm, showing zero fear. He holds up an ancient scroll glowing brightly in his right hand, ready to reveal his final trump card. Tearing the holy paper in half, the human summons a dark scythe made of dozens of floating runes. The sinister weapon radiates the Demon King's favor, revealing a highly dangerous unholy contract. Terrified by the sight, the Lord stutters, calling the hero a hypocrite for making deals with demons while fighting for the light. Desperate for its life, the floating core cries, begging the Pope to save it. A gigantic demonic hand bursts from the shadows in the sky, while the creature screams loudly for help. The skeletal fingers slam shut violently, triggering a lethal, merciless obliteration grip on the beast. The devastating blow completely vaporizes the dragon finger, and the monster in a vertical blast of energy. Heavy dark footsteps hit the ruined swamp floor, right behind the kneeling swordsman. An imposing skeletal figure with horns greets the knight like an old friend. Noting it's been a while since they saw each other, the evil-eyed demon mocks the hero's pathetic state, remembering when he first dropped into that universe. The Dark Lord offers his shady power as a reward for the hero to wipe out all those cursed scumbags for good. With a fast sneak attack, the swordsman swings his blade backward, shattering the illusion and yelling that they're even now. Super pissed it couldn't trick the warrior, the floating demon head decides to leave one last grim warning. The sinister entity stares down the target in a creepy way, swearing it already saw the transmigrator's face of death. The giant demon fades away completely in the cold wind, leaving only a tense silence hanging under the moonlight. The system alerts that the creature was deleted without dropping XP and demands the warrior heal up Asap to pay off his mana loan. Totally wrecked after the mortal combat, the knight sits on the ground panting, barely able to sit up straight. Through the system, the warrior tries to ping the Hope coordinates he summoned and asks to open a direct chat. The green screen glows in front of him, flashing in all caps that the connection failed because the systems aren't linked. Right after, another alert pops up saying decomposition failed because the target isn't organic matter. Far away, the little yellow slime munches on the leftovers stuck to the petrified warrior's cheek, pretty impressed by the statue. The gooey monster slides down the stone body, hitting the ground with a wet splat. Jumping on the golden opportunity, the little critter drags the fighter's heavy weapon, announcing he's keeping the abandoned loot. The yellow ball slides fast through the dark forest, thanking the human for the free gear left behind. Hyped about his master plan, the slime figures if he helps the dangerous humans, he might score a safe ride to their city. Following the wrecked trail, the little slime finds the massive ice wall, blocking the path through the dark swamp. The little monster instantly recognizes that the barrier was made by the mage from earlier and guesses they must be super close. Excited by the idea, the blob hopes the human beat the giant bird so he can easily loot all the drops. Playing it super safe, the little creature stretches a sticky tentacle to the top of the ice to check out the situation on the other side. The yellow ball peeks over the frozen wall and freezes in fear at the nasty surprise waiting there. The gigantic mutant bird surveys the area victoriously, while the mage's skinless body lies bleeding in the mud. In a gross move, the beast beak grabs the victim's macabre remains, lifting the mage into the air with zero mercy. The monstrous bird stretches its long neck to swallow the brutal meal, proving it just ate the tamer's own ally. Suddenly, the creature's eyes glow deep red, realizing super fast that it's being watched from afar. Terrified by the disturbing scene, the slime drops from the ice, figuring the beast keeps getting stronger with every kill. Fearing the absolute worst, the little blob wonders in panic if the leftover girl already became bird food too. The magic owl pops back up, diving aggressively and letting out ear-piercing screeches through the creepy swamp air. The bird drops like a torpedo, aiming straight at its owner, who's running away on the porcupine through the dark woods. Dead serious, the adventurer tells her mount that the little owl isn't their partner anymore and orders a lethal counterattack. The porcupine fires a literal storm of sharp quills from its back, piercing the corrupted bird dead on mid-air. It all starts with the mutant owl's beak glowing intensely as it preps a lethal aerial strike. The creature starts spinning like a deadly tornado, firing a razor-sharp wind blast called the Iron Beak Gale. The absurd force of the attack shreds the trees and logs around it, sweeping the whole area in its path. Then, the wind blades crash down violently toward the dark forest floor. The brutal impact kicks up heavy debris, yeeting chunks of wood everywhere. The adventurer Nia tries to duck the chaos, while one of the golden quills grazes right past her. Terrified by the situation, the girl wonders who could possibly save her, not understanding why her little Miwu turned out like this. Hugging the porcupine, she tells him not to be scared and promises to transfer mana for his instant recovery. Completely out of control, the corrupted owl lets out a piercing screech, diving fast through the trees. The giant bird charges relentlessly, its glowing beak aimed right at its former owner cowering in the mud. The tamer screams in terror facing certain doom, until a mind control skill pops out of nowhere. The monstrous bird freezes mid-air, totally in shock, canceling the lethal strike instantly. With that, Nia's consciousness gets pulled into a dark spiritual space surrounded by floating white pillars. Relieved, the girl realizes the pet contract didn't fail, and she finally managed to hack into the owl's mindscape. Turning her head, she gets super confused noticing a mysterious, glowing figure standing right there. The imposing divine entity holds the mini version of the owl, making the girl recognize the angel lord. Totally clueless, the adventurer asks what such a noble being is doing inside a basic pet's mind. With a calm look, the angelic figure calls the human to slowly walk into the light. But the divine face rips in half, revealing a bizarre bloody skull that screams for her to come over right now. Absolutely panicking at the creepy illusion, Nia cries desperately, begging for any kind of help. Back in the real world, the porcupine growls, super pissed seeing the fatal danger rolling up on the helpless human. The mutant owl snaps back into killer mode and dives fiercely at the paralyzed owner again. The lethal beak cuts through the air, stopping just inches from the victim, ready to tear her apart without mercy. But a yellow tentacle pops out of nowhere, yanking Nia backward, making the bird smash its face straight into the hard dirt. The little yellow slime makes his grand entrance, controlling several rocks floating in the air. Super mad about the interruption, the corrupted bird gets up from the dust, glaring at the blob with multiple red eyes scattered across its body. The little monster stretches its gooey arm up, holding a heavy flail with some serious flex and grip. Using his squishy mass to his advantage, the little guy turns the tip of his own body into a medieval weapon of mass destruction. Gaining quick momentum, the slime swings the deadly mace through the air, building heavy centrifugal force for the strike. But he completely whiffs the main target, landing a terrible smash right on the poor injured porcupine's back. Startled by his own blunder, the slime yanks his gooey arm back real fast, playing dumb. But the iron weapon swings loose and drops hard right on the careless little creature's own head. After the scare, Nia sits up relieved next to her mount, thanking the little slime for saving their lives. Very gently, she scoops up the savior monster with both hands, feeling that familiar stretchy texture. Staring at the bug, the tamer mentions feeling an old bond coming from him, and already suspects the real reason why. Crying happy tears, the girl hugs the slime to her chest, swearing he's her captain's soul coming back in a monster body to save her. Meanwhile, the porcupine complains in the background, trying to get his distracted owner to look at the new threat. The gigantic shadow of the enraged owl covers the trio on the ground again, letting them know the fight is still on. Completely covered in fluids and totally unhinged, the mutant bird dives from the sky ready to shred everybody there. While Naya asks if her mount can still fight, the little slime spreads his gooey roots across the terrain like a tactical net. Focused on the ambush, the little monster pops his search skill, tracking the area's vibrations through ground contact. His tactical sense perfectly maps the enemy bird's position flying low over a broken log. As soon as the beast gets close to the trap, the blob cheers confidently, saying he knows exactly where to hit. Controlling earth magic, the little creature makes a sharp rock erupt from the ground, piercing the bird clean from below. The giant monster's eyes go wide, crying in extreme pain after taking a brutal hit in a super sensitive spot. Dazed by the insane pain, the corrupted bird flaps its wings super clumsily, completely losing flight control. Giving it zero time to recover, the slime yeets a massive boulder, cracking the injured bird's side dead on. The impact throws the beast far through the air, opening its guard perfectly for the yellow monster to end the fight. Taking the opening, he swings the heavy iron flail backward, gaining a ton of extra momentum on the lethal chain. Spinning the weapon non-stop, the blob focuses all his impact force, prepping a max, power-destructive strike. The plasma cannon crushes the giant bird's head instantly, splattering red fluids all over the muddy scenery. The colossal hit wipes the monster and buries the spiked iron ball right into the middle of a massive tree in the back. Trying to yank his weapon out of the hard wood, the slime thinks to himself, feeling kinda embarrassed that he went totally overboard with the brute force. Looking at her old partner's grim leftovers scattered on the dirty ground, the tamer lets out a quiet, sad sigh. Then she turns her attention to the slime, revealing she perfectly remembers seeing that exact same little monster near the campfire hours ago. Thinking quietly, the adventurer figures the little blob is tailing the group purely out of affection and hypes up the crazy compatibility between them. Super pumped about the likely new friendship, Naya hugs the little monster, hoping with everything she's got that it works out this time. The girl pops a glowing magic circle on the ground, offering an official pet contract to the little yellow creature. With a calm, super welcoming look, the human promises she'll take great care of the little slime from now on, no matter what. But the slime system blares a red alert, warning that signing the human contract will permanently lock him out of divine powers, forcing a tough choice. In another corner of the forest, the armored goblin lord tells the slime he used a holy spell to pull the transmigrated soul in to fight the church. The little slime, just chilling on the dirty ground, straight up asks how he can be useful to the masked warrior. Sighing heavily in frustration, the hero admits he just dropped into this world, but isn't even strong enough to save the girl who helped him. With that, he pulls his helmet off, revealing the real reason he hides his face in armor all the time is because he's not human either. The little slime is totally shocked by the sudden reveal and eagerly asks what the real hidden race under the steel is. Showing his green eye glowing in the shadows of the slit, the warrior confesses he belongs to the goblin race, a species hated by people. Instantly picturing a hideous, aggro creature, the yellow monster decides it's better to just keep living as a harmless little blob. But the guy takes the whole mask off, showing a dead gorgeous humanoid face with short white hair, noting his looks always cause confusion. Amazed by his ally's genetics, the slime drops hyped compliments, complaining about how insanely OP that aesthetic difference is. Sitting relaxed on the rock, the elf goblin lord counters the blob's jealousy, pointing out that being super tiny is the best stealth tactic ever. Putting the helmet back on, the hero tells his partner to run, warning about incoming holy knights and leaving the slime clueless about the rush. To balance the odds in the suicide war, the masked guy pops system sync, aiming to transfer all his magic power to his squishy little partner. The blue glowing panel confirms the instant data transfer, leaving the creature mind blown at scoring high tier magic in a flash. Walking into the dark, the swordsman admits he's out of resources and asks for help in the fight, while the slime asks what the church did to get so much hate. Standing under the glow of the virtual screen, the albino leader states dead serious that the cursed church plans to wipe out every drop of life in that selfish universe just to evolve. Confused by the lore, the little slime wonders what kind of villain pulls that nowadays and how exactly they plan to sacrifice all life in that world. The warrior explains it all started when he transmigrated into this dark universe, trapped in the body of the lowest tier goblin pup imaginable. To survive in the sealed mine, he ate trash and even human limbs until he awakened his special power at 5 years old to wipe out the local bosses. Staring at his own hands stained with thin fluids, the guy reflects that even after massacring his own kind, his soul stayed strictly human. Then he talks about rescuing several heroines used as breeding machines by the monsters, helping them all start over thanks to his unusual skill. The little blob totally agrees with his masked partner, claiming that despite being stuck in a tiny jelly body, he also carries a human soul. But then the stretched creature catches the crazy detail in the reveal and asks, outraged, what kind of holy dual cultivation technique the warrior was using. Sighing deeply, the Lord admits he's jealous of the slime's decomposition since his power requires a ton of life energy from sleeping with adventurers of vastly different classes. The controversial method guarantees he boosts his HP or mana depending on the chosen partner, plus giving a ridiculous amount of bonus XP. Using that to get strong fast, he built several families and headed straight for the royal capital, looking for a better life for his precious wives. Bored out of his mind, the little monster grumbles that he's starting to think his ally just made the whole story up to flex his romantic conquests. But the albino's tone gets incredibly heavy as he reveals that moving to the big city was his worst mistake, ending in the tragic deaths of his entire new family. While the system hits 12% on the magic transfer, a macabre creature drops from the sky, screaming in rage that it finally found the runaway prey. Totally dazed by the sudden flying ambush, the swordsman freezes, unable to believe the enemy found him so fast in the dark forest brush. With no time to draw his blade, the armored hero gets swept by a brutal attack that kicks up a thick dust cloud, covering the dark campsite. A gigantic tornado of dark magic tears the night sky and crushes the forest floor with insane, uncontrollable destructive force. The spell's devastating impact sweeps the ancient trees away and opens a colossal crater right where the duo was chilling seconds before the lethal ambush. Stepping out of the heavy smoke, the bizarre chimera complains she can't capture and dissect the goblin alive, since the crazy pope ordered his total annihilation with zero mercy. Surprised the target tanked the insane hit, the abomination asks how he managed to beat a holy beast that had immortality and adaptation. Banged up and leaking fluids, the Lord tells his own system to shut up while getting red alerts that his symbiotic armor is nearly trashed. Curious about her rival talking to himself, the monster guesses he's speaking to some hidden AI and wonders if she'd inherit the power if she stole his body. Boiling with pure hate, the masked guy accuses the sorceress of being a filthy demon for sacrificing countless innocent lives to create immortal bodies for the church. Laughing at her rival's hate, the abomination levitates some rocks, arguing that their lives mean absolutely nothing to higher, dimensional beings. With a quick snap of her creepy neck, the corrupted villain fires the floating boulders like lethal sharp missiles at the exhausted albino hero. Keeping his guard solid, the skilled swordsman uses his bare hands to crush the rocks mid-air before they can pierce his skin with a direct hit. Mocking the isolated enemy's pathetic state, the chimera pops an eye spell, noticing the useless slime is the only pathetic company left on the ground. Caught slipping by the red magic, the little blob goes into full panic mode as his body completely freezes, feeling exposed and vulnerable down to his soul. But the winged beast's god complex vanishes in a flash when a subtle movement catches her eye in her peripheral vision. Realizing the goblin used a magic illusion to fake her out, the annoying creature sighs in frustration, asking where he thinks he can run in this dump. Popping up stealthily behind the arrogant mage, the Lord announces he never planned on running and chains a brutal physical attack aiming right at her vitals. A gigantic flaming barrier bursts from the cracked ground, forming a perfect cube of pure heat that swallows both fighters at once, locking the duel inside. Staring at the lethal purple bonfire from afar, the little monster gulps, terrified his masked partner just got turned to ash in that hellish blaze. Flexing a sick sadism inside the flames, the chimera admits she's weak to physical attacks but swears she won't let anyone get close to her vital body. Shattering the fire barrier with a booming punch, the albino lord screams determinedly that his pinpoint piercing technique works perfectly against magic too. Taking advantage of the split second opening from the hit, he chokes the abomination's neck with one hand, pushing furiously through the embers without caring about the real pain. With the terrified prey pinned, the warrior yeets the macabre body straight into the rocks, crushing the flying creature's spine with brutal physical force. Completely charred by the enemy spell, the hero swears that even if he dies here in the dirt, he's dragging the cursed sorceress straight to the grave with him. A blue screen pings in the void, showing the system locked him at exactly 1 HP, triggering an extreme survival feature for a measly 60 seconds. Totally cloaked in a blinding golden aura in the dark, the swordsman plays his final card, prepping an insane self-destruct spell to end the game. Panicking completely at the trap, the Chimera thrashes desperately, demanding to be let go while screaming if the madman knows the terrible price of that forbidden magic. The virtual warning flashes, confirming the brutal move will wipe out his body's resistance and completely pulverize the warrior's soul without leaving a single trace. Totally ignoring the tragic warnings, the suicidal warrior summons a colossal green magic circle on the earth, stating his tragic fate doesn't matter anymore. Trapped in the impact zone with no way out, the beast cries in absolute agony, feeling its own life essence being sucked out and shredded by the merciless green vortex. Right before fading into thin air, the hero apologizes to his little ally for the sudden goodbye and passes the impossible mission of saving this insane world onto him. Crying rivers of heartfelt tears, the little slime begs his friend not to fade away, complaining he doesn't have the strength or magic to pull off such an absurd task. While the holy light pillar starts losing steam, the Lord's echoing voice hypes up his squishy partner, hinting he was only brought to this world to summon him. Then the blinding flash of the suicide spell completely vanishes into the dark forest sky, leaving only a disturbing silence and a cold void behind. The smoke slowly settles, revealing the massive, empty blast zone where the little yellow creature stays paralyzed and alone on the edge of the deep rocky abyss. Completely devastated by the priceless loss, the little monster cries more genuine tears, mourning the early sacrifice of the battle brother he barely got to know. Suddenly, the winged chimera drops from above, tearing through the dark clouds while cursing the dead swordsman for ruining her perfect master plan. Furious, the beast realizes the green explosion managed to destroy 5 of her precious life candles, used to prep the ascension ritual to the pure universe. Pretty banged up from the cheap shot, the creature confesses she only survived because she transferred her own consciousness into that low, tear-rotting corpse. Hitting the edge of the cratered ground, the immortal abomination suffers a violent pain spasm and ends up cuffing a huge puddle of dirty fluids onto the cold, dry dirt. Sick of hearing the villain's garbage, the little blob spits in the dust, claiming he inherited the Lord's will, and is gonna make her pay for all the evil done to the realm. But the tough talk is a pure bluff from the terrified little critter, who uses the quick distraction to drag his squishy body downhill, running away at top speed. Staring at that ridiculous, insanely cowardly getaway, the mage asks in outrage what kind of trash, useless pet that cursed goblin decided to recruit. With hate taking over her corrupted veins, the sorceress stretches her twisted fingers into the air and rapid fires ring spells to take her blind rage out on the slow prey. The dark spells nail the runaway's jelly backside dead on, sparking harmless glowing glitches across the little scared slime's flexible yellow shell. Realizing the direct hit didn't leave a single scratch on his body, the bug stops his wild sprint, totally confused by the unlikely outcome. Shaking with weakness in the corner of the stone arena, the villain tries to figure out the fail and realizes taking soul damage severely nerfed her powers. Outraged by the massive embarrassment of missing a hit on a slime, the mage spreads her torn wings, screaming she'll never accept being outplayed by such a pathetic, weak bug. Noticing the exhausted enemy is hanging by a thread, the little blob pops his tactical vision, cooking up a quick plan to use the element of surprise and finish the dead guy's job. In a low sweep over the cratered arena, the abomination stretches a giant bird neck, going crazy to bite a chunk out of the harmless victim, stuck to the ground. With insanely sharp reflexes for his species, the little monster flexes his soft body to the side, letting the lethal beak smash nothing but the hard rocks on the bare floor. Panning from the humiliating miss, the beast spits pure rage, warning that as soon as she gets her stamina back, she'll return to turn the forest into a dry desert no matter what. Channeling the absolute last spark of magic energy in her busted body, the chimera puffs her ribcage like a tight drum, ready to unleash raw pressure. Releasing all the pent-up oxygen at once in a silent scream, she throws up a colossal, destructive breath super similar to the lethal, scorching fire of pure dragons. The thermal storm travels at an insane speed, lighting up the dark night and swallowing everything in its path out of the crater in a fraction of a second. The massive impact blows up the surface of the dry terrain, forcing the little prey to tank the extreme flaming heat wave coming straight at him. But when the deadly flash cuts through the air and fades into the cold wind, the slime remains completely untouched in the exact same spot, leaving the witch paralyzed and unable to comprehend the miracle. Completely terrified by the unexplainable immunity of the yellow creature that didn't take even superficial damage from the pure flames, the villain shakes, backing away in horror. During this tense moment of the brutal clash, the monster's stitched stomach starts swelling up in a super weird way, showing something dangerous wants out. Pushing the bird's jaw to the limit, a slippery purple snake pops out, slithering freely through the macabre guts of the chimera body to catch some air, Before the gross snake can try a sneaky strike, the swordsman's squishy partner glows intensely, blasting a pure white light across the whole tent's perimeter. Watching the sudden, massive radiation of magic take over the dead terrain around them, the beast backs off in shock, terrified the yellow jelly ball is evolving. The flying beast goes through a sudden evolution, turning into a feathered serpent dragon. Soon an intense glow wraps around the creature's body as it flaps its wings. Without wasting time, the chimera shoots into the sky and vanishes over the horizon at top speed. Alone on the ground, the little slime is left in shock, trying to process what he just watched. Then the system pings, letting him know the magic skill transfer completely failed. But he did manage to inherit healing, cooking, and map knowledge from the fallen lord. The little monster complains that even scoring all that power, he can't feel happy about it. Using his new search skill, the creature tracks the remains scattered across the floor. Then, several jelly tentacles stretch out to grab the armor pieces. The little blob slips into the metal parts and starts assembling the fallen hero's gear. Determined, the slime swears to gather his strength to destroy the church and honor his friend. With that, the helmet snaps perfectly into place, locking in a combat stance. Even without a physical body, the creature uses its mass to fill the inside of the suit. Trying to get used to the new form, he takes his first heavy step forward. But his lack of balance takes over, and the armor almost face plants into the dirt. Our MC complains it's super hard to check his blind spots and keep a straight posture. Unable to hold up the weight, the armor crashes to the ground, kicking up dust. Out of the metal, the blob decides to stash the gear, worried about new enemies showing up. With his flexible body, he swallows the heavy stone pieces all at once. The system quickly confirms the damage. Absorbing armor was successfully stored. Night falls quietly over the dense, mysterious dark forest. Looking for a safe shelter, the little critter finds a hole in a tree trunk. Cozy inside, he starts reading the atlas to sort out all that information. The little monster's mind fills with images of mountains, mines, and the royal capital. Surprised by the size of the world, the slime discovers he's currently in the swamp forest. He figures adventurers use church portals to fast travel to the big city. Looking at the magic structure, the slime wonders if he can use the portal to skip the trip. But he quickly realizes he needs to level up big time before taking on the capital. Checking his inventory, the little blob notes he stored the body of a girl named Nia. Staring at the curled up body on the floor, he debates whether he should trigger decomposition. Knowing he can't revive the girl, our MC figures taking action is better than watching her rot. With that, the yellow mass pushes forward, covering the adventurer's still arms and torso. The young woman's pale face is completely swallowed by the creature's digestive enzyme. A nostalgic vision of the girl smiling appears in the air, saying goodbye to the little slime. Crying heartfelt tears, the yellow blob whispers one last goodbye to his fallen friend. With the absorption complete, he swears he's going to take down that evil church all by himself. The system announces he hit level 50 and unlocked parasitic domination. Dawn breaks, lighting up the forest horizon with warm rays of sunlight. Nearby, a massive swamp frog chills peacefully on a green leaf. Suddenly, the amphibian's eyes go wide, sensing an extreme danger instinct. Without warning, the blob fires several projectiles from his own body in a lethal sneak attack. The jelly chunks hit the frog dead on, violently knocking it off the leaf. With the target down, the little monster apologizes for using the bug as a test dummy. Reading the new skills description, he gets that he can hack into corpses like a puppet. To test the power, the creature spits a piece of itself straight onto the dead amphibian. The system pings, confirming the skill activation initiated successfully. The parasite magic sneaks deep inside, completely hijacking the animal's neural network. The frog's body glows, showing its nerves getting replaced by the yellow essence. Slowly, the corpse's fingers start twitching, regaining movement. Watching closely, the slime is amazed to see the bug stand up like it's alive again. The parasite technique works, making the meat puppet act on its own. Now, our MC decides to focus his mind to transfer his consciousness into the corpse. Triggering the domination command, the little slime closes his single eye, concentrating hard. Instantly, the frog opens its eyes, revealing exclusive combat skills ready to go. Staring at the forest through someone else's body, the creature thinks the zoomed-in vision is super magical. Moving its paws, he notices he inherited muscle memory without needing to relearn how to walk. The amphibian puppet turns its head, looking at the real jelly body lying in the grass. The slime realizes his main body is totally vulnerable and needs to be hidden during fights. Super hyped about the discovery, the possessed frog happily flicks its tongue out. Using its strong legs, the animal takes a massive jump, vanishing into the old trees. Testing out the powers, the puppet fires a tongue punch, squashing a bug mid-air. Finding the whole experience super fun, the frog decides to test out magic somewhere else. With crazy agility, the amphibian wildly jumps around the corners of the brush. Locking onto a slow snail, the creature preps its lethal bite technique to attack. But a warning alarm goes off, and the slime's essence is violently yanked backward. The system quickly alerts that the signal got way too weak, causing a disconnect. Without the mental link, the frog's body goes limp and splats onto the dirt floor. Taking back control of his own yellow body, our MC calculates the range limit is 30 meters. Standing near the corpse, the slime realizes he can't let the puppet wander too far off. Suddenly, the amphibian lets out a loud croak, leaving the little blob pretty confused. Acting on its own, the frog goes back to jumping frantically through the forest hunting for more bugs. A magic light bulb goes off over the creature's head, showing he figured it all out. Our MC concludes there's an active domination mode and an automatic natural mode. Acting as the cell tower, the slime realizes that if the connection drops, the host runs on pure instinct. But the animal's hunting attempts fail miserably, missing the snail multiple times. Watching the frog flop, the slime realizes this automatic mode isn't smart at all. Losing his patience, he decides to stash the puppet back in his inventory. With that, our MC figures out that if he beats any creature, he can use its corpse. Imagining himself piloting a high-tier beast, he plans to build an army to destroy the church and immediately sets off hunting for new targets. Cruising through the murky swamp waters, the little creature hunts for his next victim. Suddenly, a water jet hits the blob dead on, taking a chunk out of his HP. Pissed at the sneak attack, he yells, demanding the attacker show their face. The little monster talks trash, asking if some stinky crab just came to serve itself on a silver platter. But looking into the water, he only finds a tiny, harmless pufferfish. Full of himself thanks to his level 50 stats, the little blob mocks it, saying he's gonna show off his real power. Ignoring the threat, the fish puffs up and fires another heavy water jet. With fast reflexes, the blob dodges the shots and fires off his own barrage of projectiles. The yellow attack flies at top speed, tearing through the air toward the enemy. Hitting the water with brutal force, the shot kicks up a massive wave. Confident he landed the hit, our MC warns that shoot and run tactics aren't that simple. Wasting no time, the creature shapes its own body to create a magic net. The move is a dead center hit, easily trapping the fleeing fish trying to escape. Pulling the heavy net up the tree, the slime is surprised to see he caught a whole bunch at once. With the wind locked in, the system instantly adds the pufferfish to his puppet inventory. The panel reveals the new marionette's pack water, based attacks and slashing skills. Continuing his hunt through the swamp, our MC soon spots a large, lone crab. With a precise jump, the yellow blob drops heavy, crushing the crustacean against the ground. The bug thrashes desperately, using its claws to try and break free. But the little monster is relentless, slipping right through the cracks in the animal's shell. The invasion is a success, and the system confirms the target is defeated while the slime takes the wheel. Triggering his domination, the crab's body glows with magic energy lines. With the new puppet ready to go, the defense stats and mud attacks are now at his disposal. Shortly after, weird buzzing noises start echoing through the dark trees. A massive swarm of giant wasps gets summoned, completely surrounding the area. Jumping on the chance, our MC shifts his mind to the frog and attacks with the energized tongue. The tongue whips the air violently, smashing the flying bugs in the blink of an eye. The frog keeps up the massacre, slamming targets into the ground and securing a ton of XP. However, the surviving wasps counterattack, stinging the amphibian's body which swells up in pain. Making things worse, the bugs prep a magic fire attack cast from up high. Seeing the imminent danger, the little monster realizes relying solely on the frog is going to end terribly. Quick as a flash, he disconnects his mind from the puppet and snaps back to his original body. Then, the slime's consciousness instantly takes over the freshly caught crab. Setting up a defense, the crustacean starts bubbling water from its mouth, ready to fire. A powerful water cannon blasts with full force straight up into the sky. Clashing with the flames, a violent steam explosion takes over the forest. The system warns that the puppet got dehydrated and can't use water attacks anymore. Instantly, its life energy and shell durability start tanking. Unable to handle the wear and tear, one of the bug's claws shatters, leaving the slime shocked. Taking advantage of the opening, the swarm casts more fire circles to finish the job. A devastating explosion hits the ground, swallowing everything around it in a scorching inferno. When the fire clears, the frog and crab bodies drop to the floor totally crispy. The wasps hover over the ruined spot, convinced they wiped out the main threat. But out of nowhere, a fast water sphere nails one of the bugs square in the back. Hiding in a puddle, the pufferfish puppet celebrates the successful sneak attack. Furious at the nerve, the rest of the swarm quickly turns its attention to the little fish. At that clutch moment, our MC's mind swaps hosts once again. The slime charges from above, declaring he doesn't care about losing puppets, since he can always grab more. Looking up, One of the wasps spots the yellow danger falling right toward it. Trying to block, the creatures cast a thick triple barrier of wax. With a brutal impact, the blob shatters the shield, proving his original body is the strongest. In freefall, the little monster molds his own mass, forming a heavy, hardened cannon. The piercing strike nails the giant bug, wrecking its defense without breaking a sweat. Quickly, the creature's tentacles spread through the defeated target's nerves. Hacking into the wasp's brain, the slime finishes the parasitic domination process. He plans to use this new pickup to finally build his dream army. Figuring out the leader controls the rest, the slime hacks the queen wasp's mind. The system quickly confirms the successful capture, unlocking the rare hive mind skill. Striking a royal pose, the slime broadcasts sound waves, ordering his subjects to rise. But to his disappointment, the bug's bodies just drop lifeless onto the grass. Confused by the outcome, our MC tries to figure out why there was zero reaction. He then realizes that if the original queen died, the whole swarm linked to her got wiped out too. Bummed about losing the army, the little blob ditches the useless carcass and slithers out. Changing the game plan, he decides to parasitize the mage wasp that survived the clash. The new puppet brings super useful spells like levitation and shooting fire sparks. Later on, from the top of a rock, the little slime preps to give a speech to his crew. With a commander's voice and striking a pose, the little monster demands all the puppets gather up. Pointing to the first recruit, he names the swamp frog Waji. Next up, the crab with the huge claws gets the affectionate nickname Karanga. Meanwhile, the agile pufferfish gets the name Xiaotun while awkwardly floating over the ground. However, when looking for the last team member, the slime is left clueless seeing the mage wasp is gone. It all starts with the little slime looking confused at his newly caught aquatic minions on the ground. Muttering suspiciously, our MC can't believe what's about to happen right in front of him. Suddenly, the frog puppet shows up casually chewing on the mage wasp's leg stuck in its mouth. Trying to swallow its teammate, the amphibian takes a massive magic hit from the inside. The slime quickly frees the damaged wasp, reminding them of rule number 1, never eat your own allies. Checking out the lined-up monsters, he decides he's finally put together his dream combat squad. Seen from above, the 4 puppets wait for orders scattered across the swampy scenery. The big rock crab takes the front line, acting as the team's heavy armored tank. Meanwhile, the pufferfish throws on some peasant clothes and acts as the group's elite sniper. With the ability to fly and shoot spells, the giant wasp locks in as the backline mage. Agile and deadly, the frog rocks a black hood, ready to be the crew's stealthy assassin. Finally, the armored slime proudly steps up as the commander and main magic support. Wasting no time, the new squad rolls right into the volcanic zone to take on the dangerous regional dragon boss. Right off the bat, the winged beast attacks from the air, aiming a crushing stomp straight at the mage. To protect his ally, our MC instantly orders the tank to pop its heavy shell defense. The monster's brutal claw comes down with relentless violence against the most fragile target. But the crab intercepts the hit, triggering a thick barrier of magic light over its body. Under the extreme pressure of the attack, the crustacean's armor starts cracking, losing a huge chunk of HP. Spotting the danger, the slime stretches his glowing tentacles and pumps healing cytoplasm straight into the minion. Instantly, the cracks in the defense seal up, restoring full strength to the group's tank. Capitalizing on the opening, our MC points forward, ordering the sniper and the mage to go all out. The 2 puppets charge their skills, focusing piercing energy in the blink of an eye. At high speed, the projectiles nail the enemy's neck, dealing a lethal combo of critical damage. Even wounded, the beast stands strong, prompting the leader to order the attackers to just pin the target down. Then the assassin frog jumps in fast, turning its long tongue into a flexible, reddish blade. The precise strike cuts the air and tags the boss, applying an instant weakness debuff on the big monster. Watching the stunned dragon, the squad gears up to deliver the finishing blow without delay. Hyped by the golden opportunity, the slime yells at the top of his lungs, telling everyone to finish the job for good. The entire squad pushes across the arena, firing all their skills together at the weakened prey. A massive cloud of dust and rocks kicks up, confirming the devastating impact of the coordinated final combo. The system quickly confirms the feathered serpent was completely defeated in the middle of the lava dungeon. With the win secured, the team members raise their little weapons and claws, celebrating the massive achievement. Out of his armor, the yellow little monster laughs, tasting the sweet reward of tactical teamwork. In a rush to keep going, he dives into a hole, calling his minions to follow him down as fast as possible. Arriving at the entrance of a dark cave, our MC enthusiastically announces that the real training is about to begin. A bit further away in the calm swamp waters, nature carries on its usual violent, wild cycle. Oblivious to the danger, a tiny mouse hops across the rocks, playing on the edge of the dark forest. Suddenly, the piece is shattered by a fast, sticky shot flying straight out of the damp bushes, revealing its true form. A camouflaged stone feline charges fiercely across the wet terrain. Using its bizarre tail, the predator hits the little prey with a pinpoint, merciless strike. Swallowing the mouse whole, the animal secures some easy XP points to level up. With its prey bagged, the cat lets out loud meows, drawing a lot of attention in the quiet forest. Attracted by the noise, a giant mosquito drops from the treetops, driving its stinger straight into the feline's back. In seconds, the bug's massive abdomen swells and glows red, rapidly draining the victim's life energy. With the extraction done, the beast pulls out the bloody needle, leaving only a dry carcass on the floor. The little predator's body falls lifeless on the grass, completely dehydrated and hollow. Satisfied with the huge meal, the mosquito turns around and goes back to flapping its wings through the dark swamp. Flying super low, the winged parasite patrols the greenish waters looking for new, helpless targets. But right under the surface, an entire school of fish is feeding on small bait dropped in the water. Not noticing the invisible threat, the mosquito takes a violent electric shock that paralyzes its body mid-air. The brutal discharge spreads through the puddle, frying several other small bugs in a fraction of a second. The crispy leftovers float lifelessly, becoming an easy snack for the predators hiding at the bottom. A greenish fish jumps nimbly, swallowing the giant flyer whole in a single lethal bite. Chewing the meat, the high-level electric catfish flexes a look of pure territorial superiority, but a blinding white light wraps around the aquatic creature's body, signaling a drastic form change. Hiding on a nearby tree branch, the slime is surprised to witness yet another evolution in nature. The catfish quickly sprouts blue scales and long whiskers, turning into a majestic thunder dragonfish. Fueled by its newly awakened power, the beast fires fierce lightning bolts, whipping the water with extreme force. Super impressed, the little yellow blob watches the destructive show quietly from his high hiding spot. Analyzing the weird scene, our MC deduces that the phenomenon of monster mutations is happening way too often. Answering his doubts, the smart system quickly loads up the dangerous context of that ecosystem. The panel reveals the region is a lethal zone packed with resources, making evolutions a completely everyday thing there. At the very top of the massive food chain, the oldest beasts rule, ready to devour absolutely everything in their path. With the recent wipeout of the monster army in the area, the local ecology ended up suffering a severe collapse. However, nature itself kicked off the healing process, supplying raw, loose magic to force the fauna's rebirth. Because of that, mid-tier beasts got a free pass to soak up that energy and evolve with zero competition. An illustrated food web pops up, showing the brutal animal race to become the new king of that vast domain. Saving all this priceless info, the little slime perfectly understands the chaotic situation of the outside world. Feeling confident, he thanks it for the awesome data and asks if his captured puppets could evolve too. But the AI informs him the process doesn't just depend on level, and there's no solid data regarding marionettes. Suddenly, a booming thunderclap shatters the calm, grabbing the yellow little leader's attention. Curious about the loud noise, the little monster decides to go investigate the source of that mysterious, glowing power. Getting closer, our MC gets the scare of his life, letting out a confused curse at the surreal scene. The newly evolved dragonfish thrashes around desperately, shooting blue sparks in every possible direction. To the electric swimmer's deadly bad luck, it just got crushed by the powerful jaws of a level 60 massive crocodile. With crushing force, the colossal predator finishes off the aquatic prey, splattering fluids everywhere in the muddy water. Shocked by the sudden violence, the yellow slime watches the brutal scene, unable to believe his own luck. With that, the two heavy monsters drop dead, slowly sinking into the dirty swamp. Evaluating the leftovers, our MC realizes trying to parasitize won't work since one body is rotting and the other is totally charred. Soon he tries to absorb the energy but ends up taking a violent shock, screaming in panic and complaining about the absurd amount of electricity. To make up for the damage, the little monster had to chug 115 portions of his healing honey, leaving him exhausted. Not missing the chance, he wraps around the giant fish carcass, triggering a nutritional overload that spikes his HP to 50,000. Swelling up massive, the yellow blob instantly starts decomposing his new meal. The system floods the screen, confirming a huge XP drop and the unlock of a valuable lightning resistance perk. Rapidly, the two huge beasts are reduced to nothing but bones, sinking clean into the murky swamp waters. Sighing in relief, our MC feels great after easily hitting level 51. Knowing the HP buff has a time limit, he decides to ride the advantage and devour everything in his path. In the distance, the dense, damp forest awaits the advance of the little leader, now morphed into a giant threat. Like a runaway bulldozer, the yellow mass charges, ripping through the heavy brush and knocking down entire trees along the way. Wrecking everything in the area, The slime celebrates the absolute killing spree, feeling his XP skyrocket. Suddenly, the giant creature stops his path of destruction, after spotting something interesting on the swampy horizon. Scanning the landscape, he comes across a massive mangrove forest on the other side, way thicker and more vibrant than his current zone. Analyzing the untouched environment, the slime figures a place like that must be packed with way stronger monsters to hunt. Driven by the hunger for power, he decides it wouldn't hurt to take a quick detour over there to check out the pre. Without hesitating, the huge blob dives headfirst into the murky waters, kicking up a massive wave in the river. But down in the dark depths, dozens of hungry red eyes are already locked onto the new meal that just dropped in. In a furious attack, a massive school of level 19 piranhas swarms him, tearing chunks off the yellow body. Super pissed off, our MC watches his HP tank dramatically, taking massive stack damage in just a few seconds. Mocking the useless fish, he starts decomposing the attackers, claiming he'll use them all to heal himself back up. However, the little monster quickly realizes it's an awful trade, losing way more HP than he can absorb from the tiny prey. Things get worse when thousands of piranhas surround his giant body, pushing his energy lost past 5,000. Sinking out of control, he panics because he can't move fast in the water and is getting eaten alive by a bunch of trash mobs. With that, the system coldly states that the huge level gap doesn't matter against swarms, and his massive size just made him an easy target. Desperate, the slime tells the AI to shut up, complaining this isn't the time for tutorials while he's literally dying. Out of options, the blob focuses his energy and fires a blistering plasma barrage, dealing 20,000 damage to the enemies. The explosion from the skill breaches the surface, launching our MC backward at high speed onto dry land. A vortex of green energy sweeps the water, completely annihilating the furious school in a single devastating strike. Safe on the bank, the little monster asks the system if he can go back to giant size if he chugs more healing honey. Spamming the strat, the blob sweeps the entire forest, mercilessly devouring anything that breathes. After the relentless hunt, the slime shrinks back to normal size, feeling his body heavy from all that bank energy. Looking around, he admires the forest's rapid regeneration, noticing earth magic nourishes everything super fast. Thinking it over, he concludes taking down the church won't be that hard, since a slime's greatest strength is endless stamina. In his mind, the path is simple: just decompose, absorb, and evolve endlessly from level 1 to 100. The little monster even pictures a colossal army of identical slimes, crushing the enemy walls with zero effort. Laughing like a maniac at his flawless plan, he gets cut off by the system, which dryly states that will never work. Confused by the reply, the blob stops laughing instantly and asks why, while the AI loads up the data. A screen pops up, explaining that XP drops off a cliff when he kills monsters way below his own level. Frustrated, our MC realizes he spent hours rolling through the forest and didn't gain a single level because the payout was tiny. Super annoyed, he cusses at the system, asking why the AI didn't show the real numbers from the start. Before he gets an answer, the skeleton of the frog puppet tosses some little pebbles in front of the yellow boss. Soon after, the crustacean minion walks up too, dropping chunks of wood and leftovers on the muddy ground. Staring at the pile, the leader complains that the AI is still super annoying, even after the updates. With zero patience for the nonsense, he orders his puppets to fall back and clear the area immediately. Sucking all the trash from the floor into his own body, the little monster talks with a full mouth, saying he's maxed out on capacity again. With a violent crack, the blob ejects all the bones and stones into the air, raining shrapnel all over the scene. Sitting on top of the junk mountain, he decides he desperately needs to go find tougher opponents to grind on. The sun starts setting, lighting up a vast, desolate landscape cut by shallow rivers and tons of wet dirt. Walking across the open plain, our MC notices the tide has rolled all the way out, leaving the terrain totally exposed. Sliding with a struggle over the wet surface, he wonders what kind of wild beasts actually live in a dump like this. Completely grossed out, the slime complains about the excessive mud, saying his own body is already sticky enough without this. Stopping his slither, the little leader notices the massive mud plain is infested with tiny dark holes. Curious, he leans over one of the openings and calls out to whatever's inside, taunting it to show up so he can taste it. In silence, the little yellow blob stares into the deep darkness of the hole, waiting for any enemy movement. Without warning, a thick ball of dirt flies straight up, smacking our MC right in the face. From the sudden impact, the little monster is thrown backward, landing awkwardly in the middle of the dirty plain. The mystery shooter quickly pops out of the hole, revealing itself as a level 17 mud skipper, ready for a brawl. Agile, the amphibian jumps out of its burrow, landing on its belly on the solid ground with an aggressive glare. Opening its bizarre mouth wide, the creature lets out a deafening screech that echoes across the whole muddy plain. Covering his ears, the slime is shocked to realize that weird fish can scream that loud. Answering the call, dozens of other mud skippers burst from their burrows, surrounding the yellow intruder on all sides. Scanning the ambush, our MC realizes he stumbled into another dangerous pack where mob mentality makes up for their low levels. Keeping his cool, the leader mocks the school, asking if the fish really thought he was out here rolling solo. Spreading his tentacles across the muddy floor, the blob yells excitedly, triggering his ultimate summoning technique. A massive cloud of smoke explodes right behind the little monster, catching the fish gang completely off guard. When the dust settles, the full squad of zombie puppets is revealed, ready to defend their master in combat. Laughing to himself, the slime thinks he's the greatest for pulling off a cool manga skill in real life against his enemies. Not backing down, 3 of the mud skippers open their mouths, firing thick bursts of mud straight at the front line. The dirt projectiles fly at top speed, hitting the giant crab puppet dead center in the chest. Quickly, the wet dirt dries onto the tank's shell, locking its movements and completely immobilizing the heavy alley. Figuring out their crowd control strat, our MC brags that this useless trick won't work on a body made of pure cytoplasm. With that, 3 of the bizarre fish prop themselves up on their sturdy fins in the mud, getting ready to rush the intruder all at once. Wasting no time, one of them builds momentum and charges full speed, tearing through the wet ground like a literal torpedo. Spotting the fast movement, the little slime widens his single eye, going on high alert from the sudden charge. In his head, he was already picturing his suited up minions hyping up the boss next to a sports car in a giant mansion. Shaking his own face, our MC tells himself to stop daydreaming, remembering that overthinking always ends badly. Right then, the rest of the school copies the first jumper, and dozens of fish launch through the air at top speed toward the target. The plane turns into total chaos with a rain of amphibians aggressively bouncing all over that muddy battlefield. The little monster mocks the enemy's rage, asking if that squad was just trying to put on a private little show. Ignoring the joke, the monsters curl into their own axis, revealing sharp scales spinning like lethal circular saws. Absolutely shocked by the weird transformation, the leader asks if those sketchy bugs are chainsaw fish. In the blink of an eye, the living buzzsaws dive with full force, focusing the attack straight on the giant crab puppet. The impact is brutal, and the jagged scales start shredding the heavy minion's shell, sending sparks flying across the plane. Getting mercilessly shredded, the marionette's durability plummets, dropping fast to just 55%. To save his minion, the blob pumps in his own cytoplasm, stating he's dropping off a blood pack to keep his ally alive. Right after, he transfers his agile consciousness to a fish puppet, firing water jets to dodge the incoming attacks. Using the Steel Fang's skill, the aquatic puppet lands a clean hit on one of the attackers, scoring those sweet XP points. Quickly, the consciousness jumps to the frog puppet's body, dodging several saw strikes that buzz right past it in the air. With nimble hops through the dirt, the amphibian narrowly escapes the jagged wheels that keep chasing their prey endlessly. Finding an opening, the minion shoots its muscular tongue, which splits into multiple tips, punching the enemies with everything it's got. But the attack backfires, and the frog takes brutal damage, getting its own flesh shredded by the sharp scales of the furious school. Unable to hold the line, our MC transfers his mind back to the main body, leaving the alley behind. Watching the scene, he complains that the puppet's AI is way too dumb, forcing him to take the wheel manually. The situation goes from bad to worse when the frogs panic, getting completely cornered by the overwhelming speed. Trying to strike back, one of the puppets focuses all its strength into a single powerful tongue punch against the enemy's death wheel. But the defense cracks fast, and the minion gets badly sliced up, making the leader pull his mind back again to dodge a total wipe. Taking over the giant bee's body, he gains altitude quickly, escaping the bloodbath taking over the muddy floor. Safe in the sky, the flying bug casts a thick triple wax barrier, creating an unbreakable shield against the saws. Thinking fast, the little monster knows he needs to lock the school down somehow, and a genius idea pops into his head to clinch the win. Popping his wasp mage's skill, our MC casts a honey focus spell to trap the flying fish once and for all. The aquatic monsters get totally stuck inside the golden, sticky sphere, completely unable to move. With that, the little bees take the chance to fly around and spit even more of the sweet goo onto the locked down enemies. Meanwhile, the pufferfish minion doesn't waste time and starts inflating its own body, getting ready to make a move. Packing on some serious weight, the puppet drops down hard, crushing the opponents into the muddy plain. To keep up the pressure, the giant wasp keeps casting the honey spell, making sure to block any attempt at escaping. Soon, the whole area is covered with monsters trapped in sticky bubbles, thrashing uselessly in the mud. Watching the strat work perfectly, the system confirms the honey's extreme stickiness did the job, stalling the entire school. Giving them zero time to breathe, the group's mage instantly casts a new spell, firing a fire spark straight into the ambush. The hit quickly sets the golden spheres ablaze, creating a lethal bonfire that cooks the paralyzed fish. Rapidly, the system panel floods the slime's vision, confirming multiple kills and dropping a ton of XP. Super satisfied with the massacre, our MC tastes the sweet victory after executing the plan flawlessly. With the battle in the bag, he flexes seeing his puppet squad completely steamroll the enemies without taking any real casualties. Enjoying the calm, the pufferfish minion swims up to the charred leftovers to check out the fire damage. Suddenly, the little slime catches a delicious smell in the air, realizing his body can actually sense the chemical compounds around him. Following the good smell, the yellow little monster discovers the fire accidentally cooked up a new dish: honey roasted fish. Surprised, he notices that even his puppet minions start drooling, eager to gobble up that fresh meal. Getting into the party vibe, the leader declares that this massive feast will be the perfect celebration for their victory in the swamp. Hyped about the discovery, he figures out that eating cooked food gives way more XP than eating the bugs raw. But the joy is cut short when a loud boom shakes the ground, warning everyone to gear up for another fight. A giant amphibious frog covered in fins pops up, revealing itself as the level 49 boss of the area. Scanning the beast, the slime realizes this monster is like their queen bee and stays chill, trusting his previous strat. But our MC gets outraged when he sees his entire squad is still munching on the roasted fish, totally ignoring the lethal threat. Taking advantage of the group's complete distraction, the giant monster builds momentum and charges hard, tearing up the muddy ground. Opening a terrifying mouth, the boss preps its swallow attack, aiming right at the greedy puppets on the floor. With no time to lose, the yellow blob stretches several tentacles, attaching them to his minions to take manual control of the situation. Using this direct wired connection, he takes full command, forming a way more coordinated and lightning-fast attack net. Flexing his new technique, the little monster feels like a total boss, manipulating multiple bodies like an absolute supreme master. Completely locked in, he brags that this fighting style is insanely stylish and perfect for battle. Landing heavy in the mud, the fish leader glares at the invader's weird formation, letting out a deep, challenging roar. The slime instantly orders the attack, shocked to see the wild beast actually starting to eat its own fallen allies' corpses. Fueled by the new energy, the big guy starts jumping frantically around the plane, trying to crush the intruders. Quick on the draw, the controlled frog fires an energized tongue strike, whipping the giant monster right in the face. Taking the opening, the flying mage wasp swoops in fast, casting a spark spell to shoot fire right at the prey's back. A huge orange explosion hits the boss dead on, proving the slime's teamwork strat is running flawlessly. But the beast tanks the damage and casts an intermediate swamp spell, raising a thick mud shield all around itself. Backing up a bit, our MC is surprised to see this gross bug actually knows how to use intermediate tier magic. Knowing he has to break that barrier by force, the blob decides to sacrifice his defense, cutting the crab's wire. Pissed off by the sudden disconnect, the armored minion ignores all orders and starts munching on the mud and leftovers scattered on the ground. The system warns that losing direct control puts the minion back into auto mode, letting it pick whatever action it thinks is best. Watching the crustacean's crazy hunger, the yellow little monster deduces in awe that his puppet is about to evolve. An intense golden glow wraps around the crab as it begins shedding its old shell right in the middle of the battle arena. The light fades, revealing the majestic king of the swamp crabs, rocking massive armor and devastating claws. Reading the stats, the slime finds out this evolution turns the bug into a super tanky, dangerous scavenger boss. Without a second thought, our MC transfers his own consciousness straight into the new armored body, taking the wheel. No piloting the crustacean king, the leader plants his heavy legs in the dirt, feeling the raw brute force of that fresh shell. Clacking its sharp claws, the giant puppet stares down the enemy frog, confidently declaring that the real fight starts now. Picking up speed, the tank charges like a bulldozer, tearing through the wet ground in a super violent frontal assault. Trying to halt the charge, the amphibious beast rips up a hardened chunk of mud, prepping a fast counterattack. Spinning its body, the boss fires a razor, sharp boomerang made of its own fin, aiming dead center at the golden threat. The hit slices the crab clean in half instantly, ejecting the little slime who hits the dirt, completely clueless about the sudden defeat. The panel explains that right after molting, the crustacean's defense is extremely weak, making it absolutely perfect for cooking. In our MC's mind, the perfect recipe kicks off by coating the beaten minion in flour and magic potato starch. The illusion keeps going, showing the little monster tossing the chunks into boiling oil, deep frying everything to pure perfection. Plating the imaginary dish, he drools over the crispy snack, knowing it's the only edible version of the bug. Totally distracted, the little slime licks his lips but shakes his head, remembering a battlefield is no place to start cooking. The chill vibe is broken when a new barrage of sharp boomerangs slices through the wind, heading dangerously his way. Full of arrogance, the swamp boss keeps firing the blades non-stop, trying to slice the gooey intruder once and for all. Using his agility, the yellow little monster slides frantically through the dirt, barely dodging the lethal strikes by an inch. Annoyed by the prey's flawless dodging, the big frog starts gathering more mud, showing the chase is still on. Beating its own chest, the giant beast lets out a taunting roar, trying to intimidate the slippery, fragile target. Staring at the monster, the little slime gets outraged, realizing a wild creature is actually trying to make fun of him. Promising payback, the adventurer stretches several veins across the ground, popping his search skill to map the muddy zone. Seeing those yellow lines spreading through the mud, the amphibian boss tilts its head, totally confused by what's going on. Taking advantage of the distraction, the slime morphs his arm and hurls a super heavy iron flail right into the stuck enemy's face. To his total shock, the lethal weapon just bounces off the beast's body because of its insanely slippery skin. Unfazed by the physical fail, the blob keeps spreading the jelly net until he creates a massive trap on the floor. Yanking the strings, the little monster warns that if the thick skin blocks damage, he'll just grind the opponent down slowly and cruelly. Suddenly, the ground around the big frog shakes violently, raising thick walls of earth that completely block its vision. Hovering high up, the wasp mage puppet glows, using intermediate swamp magic to masterfully control the terrain. Because of the violent earthquake, the search lines stretched by the slime snap and break all over the plane. Feeling the connection drop, our MC goes into full panic mode, cursing his bad luck for losing his formation so easily. High above the ground, the flying puppet raises its magic wand, channeling its remaining power into one last scorching, destructive attack. The magic rains down on the mud prison, triggering a brutal explosion that crushes the inside of the barrier with overwhelming force. When the fire clears, the giant beast appears totally unhurt but panting, showing the trap just managed to piss it off. From up high, the wasp mage puppet flies chill over the sharp dirt spikes covering the battlefield. Suddenly, the giant frog jumps, whipping its massive tongue in a lightning, fast mid-air strike. Narrowly escaping, our MC slides across the dirt floor, realizing the enemy is using the mud pit to its advantage. He admits he underestimated the beast, noting it's way stronger than other monsters around the same level. Locking its gaze, the amphibious creature focuses entirely on its gooey target. In a ruthless attack, the boss fires several spinning mud boomerangs that tear through the wind. Unable to dodge, the slime is saved by his pufferfish minion, who inflates its own body to tank the hit for him. The poor fish puppet takes the full brunt of the projectiles all at once, suffering a massive drop in durability. Right after, the sharp spikes shatter violently from the force of the blows. The system quickly warns that the puppet was completely destroyed, while the slime gets yeeted far away by the impact. Free-falling, the little leader thanks his minion for the sacrifice, promising it won't be in vain. Landing heavy on the muddy ground, he sticks his body into the dirt, announcing he caught the opponent. Instantly, the little monster pops the dissolution skill, spreading his body across the terrain. Seeing that bizarre move, the giant beast stops its attack, totally clueless as to what's happening. A pillar of light drops from the sky, confirming the decomposition was a success and scoring XP points for the slime. The little slime keeps glowing on the ground, recharging his energy after that crazy combo. With that, he uses the absorbed energy to bulk up his gooey structure, taking on a way more intimidating look. On the other side, the big frog lets out a deafening roar, throwing its arms up, furious at the invader's audacity. Full of hate, the wild beast swears it's gonna kill the scumbag who trespassed on its turf. Shocked, our MC discovers the beast learned how to talk after evolving its own IQ mid-fight. Striking back, the little monster summons the art of swamp flow, raising massive, spiky pillars of earth. Wielding a mud spear, he tries to keep his swagger, claiming he's beaten way worse enemies in the past. With a huge wind up, the blob spins his body super fast and throws his attack with max force, tearing through the air. Mid-flight, the heavy weapon morphs into a brutal plasma cannon flying straight at the enemy. Spotting the danger, the big frog quickly claps its hands together, setting up an instant defense. At the exact same moment, a giant wall of earth erupts from the muddy ground, throwing up a massive barrier on the field. The plasma cannon slams into the defense dead-on, creating an insane explosion that throws dirt everywhere. The violent crash obliterates the barrier, sending shards of mud flying like razor blades all over the area. Trying to protect itself, the swamp boss braces its body to tank the shockwave of the brutal impact. Frustrated, the adventurer realizes his attack got blocked and worries about losing his own weapon in the thick mud. Suddenly, the system informs him that his martial arts talent just cooked up a move perfectly suited for him. Not really getting it, the yellow blob wonders what the heck making up new moves even means. but he brushes it off, deciding it's best to just unleash the attack with everything he's got. Using the new water hammer technique, the little monster creates a burst of crushing pressure on the battlefield. The devastating hit nails the giant frog dead center, pinning the creature's body against the ruins of the dirt wall. A massive cloud of dust and mud kicks up into the air, completely hiding the outcome of the ridiculous impact. Unable to take the hit, the huge swamp beast collapses on its back in the dirt, completely defeated by the strike. Far away in the royal capital, the imposing headquarters of the Holy See shines under the afternoon sun. The inner hall is lined with giant statues, flexing the power and authority of that holy place. The Pope speaks solemnly, stating the witch's destiny candles went out 3 days ago, confirming her sacrifice. Confident, the religious leader guarantees the world magic doesn't detect threats anymore and asks the room for their thoughts. One of the masters points out the witch was careful and suggests making sure any lingering issues get permanently deleted. Master Far, however, demands their priority be restoring the group's strength so they don't delay their grand ascension plan. Agreeing with the request, the Pope announces the perfect candidate to fill the spot just walked into the hall. At that moment, the young disciple enters the massive main hall, walking with her head down before the supreme leaders. Master Deer comments the girl is a solid backup, even though her personality is completely different from the master's. Crying desperately, the little apprentice begs the Pope and all the holy knights present for help. The girl pleads for them to save her teacher, swearing the Blue Hat Guild won't survive without her leadership. With a smirk, Master Vane invites the young girl to his own guild, but makes it clear he doesn't take losers. She politely turns down the cruel invite, saying she's going to keep her promise and sacrifice her own life if she has to. Watching the drama, the Pope finds her blind loyalty hilarious and asks if the little girl would really give herself up for the teacher. Without hesitating, the apprentice, facing away, confirms she is fully willing to lay down her life for her fallen master. The religious leader laughs wickedly, dropping the news that the witch's soul was annihilated, and promotes the young girl to the new holy knight. In shock, the girl denies her master's death through her tears, while the Pope tells her to shut up and be grateful for the new title. Clutching her chest, the girl cries uncontrollably, feeling the weight of grief and responsibility crushing her heart. Wiping her tears, she accepts her fate, swearing to inherit the Blue Hat's will and serve the Holy See with all her power. In a dark flashback, the young girl walks into a dim room, asking if her master was okay after using tracking magic. On the floor of the freezing room, the deformed and seemingly lifeless body of the old witch lies stretched out under a blue light. Suddenly, one of the old woman's eyes snaps open bizarrely, revealing disturbing insanity in the dark. The undead witch grabs the girl's foot, celebrating that she planted soul fragments in the disciple to hijack her body. The possessed carcass of the sorceress orders the student to step closer and hand over her hands to complete the cursed ritual. With an ice-cold stare, the young girl coldly refuses, letting her know she figured out the spell's secrets by reading the hidden black magic book. Desperate, the witch screams in rage at the disobedience, and quickly starts crawling, pathetically begging the apprentice to save her. Flexing pure sadism, the girl tells her master not to worry, promising she'll help her fix this little problem right now. With that, she lifts a heavy, bound magic book, showing exactly how she plans to offer her compassionate help. The room's silence is shattered by a series of brutal thuds, and the sound of bones being crushed over and over in the dark. Completely covered in fluids and consumed by madness, the disciple ruthlessly crushes the old woman, guaranteeing she'll inherit everything from her. Back in the swamp, the giant frog is still lying face down in the muddy dirt, looking like it got totally flattened in the fight. But the beast pops its huge orange eyes open suddenly, proving it's still very much awake and just playing dead. With a desperate leap, the swamp boss lets out a scared screech and jumps to its feet, slinging mud everywhere. RMC gets outraged seeing the bug run away and curses himself for not noticing the lack of an XP drop notification. Riding his little frog minion, the adventurer orders his mount to hit the gas, while the wasp flies alongside keeping the pace. Wasting no time, the little slime kicks off a relentless chase, stretching his body across the field to not lose the prey. In absolute panic, the massive amphibious beast runs like there's no tomorrow, kicking up a colossal dust trail on the plain. Looking back, the giant monster screams in terror, realizing the terrifying yellow blob is catching up super fast. Flying fast over the field, the adventurer tells the wasp to change direction, warning that they can't beat the beast's speed in the open plain. Terrified by the relentless chase, the giant frog keeps running for its life at full throttle. Looking for cover, the massive creature leaps desperately into an area packed with roots and thick trees. With an agile move, the amphibious monster lands on the dark branches, trying to blend into the swampy environment. Panning hard, the boss hides behind a thick trunk while the flying puppet mage flies right past without noticing him. Reading the situation, our MC figures his heavy attack needs room and knows the enemy wouldn't fall for the same trick twice. Peeking carefully, the big frog mocks him internally, thinking the yellow scumbag would never find him hiding there. Without losing a second, the wild beast pops its intermediate swamp flow magic to cover the area at max range. The bug soon realizes the spell also works perfectly to map the terrain all around it, but the hype dies fast when he gets a massive jump scare, pinning down the exact location of the enemy threat. Shocked by the prey's stubbornness, the giant asks in outrage if this crazy chase is ever gonna end. Right then, the little slime fires a long, stretchy thread from his own body straight up into the sky. Nimble as ever, the flying bee grabs the tip of the yellow rope mid-air. Using a levitation spell, the puppet yanks the leader up hard while he drops the ultimate moral support for his partner. Getting a solid swing, the little slime uses the thread to swing through the air, like a literal Tarzan, heading straight for the target. Meanwhile, the system pings that puppets on auto mode always pick the best action to protect the main body. Looking up, the giant frog's eyes go wide, letting out a surprised grunt at the bold play. Like a meteor, the yellow slime drops from the sky at max speed toward the hideout. Backing him up, the wasp mage dives fast right behind her master, ready for combat. Sticking a solid landing on the ground, our MC confidently states he's not letting the opponent get away, period. Focusing all its energy, the amphibious boss casts the swamp magic again to defend itself. Instantly, the spell kicks up a storm of wood and dirt spikes that fly violently across the scenery. Jumping back, the big monster curses the slime's persistence and demands he just die once and for all. To strike back, the flying puppet fires a machine gun of cytoplasmic thorns, creating a rain of lethal attacks. Shielded under a thick mud shell, the wild beast cowers, wondering if the bombardment is finally over. Suddenly, the yellow leader screams in panic, calling out for his bee puppet. With no time to dodge, the little flyer takes a direct hit from several heavy rocks launched from the ground. The impact knocks the minion backward, totally dazed by the sneak attack that broke her formation. But the wasp quickly recovers mid-air, flapping her wings furiously with renewed focus. Hitting ridiculous speed, the mascot charges, tearing through the wind like a literal homing missile. Fueled by hate, the adventurer charges, slicing the air in a furious jump while screaming his partner's name. Even badly banged up, the flying mage shoots a thumbs up, confirming the sacrifice was worth it. Watching the scene, the giant beast also shoots an OK sign, thinking it finally got rid of the problem. Flying away, the slime gives an emotional speech, saying he'll always remember his replaceable puppets. In the very next second, the brave wasp gets mercilessly swatted, turning into just a weird block on the battlefield. Changing focus, the little monster notices the ground below isn't a wet swamp anymore. Gliding through the air, he drops straight into a cracked, completely dry desert under the blazing sun. Touching down safe and sound, our MC takes a deep breath, thinking he finally found a safe spot. Suddenly, his body starts evaporating, losing 200 HP per second in terrifying continuous damage. In absolute panic, the slime takes a desperate jump, trying to escape that deadly ground. Hiding in a patch of dry grass, he's terrified watching his HP melt so fast just from touching the dirt. The system explains that the soil is extremely salty and is instantly sucking all the moisture out of his body. Totally clueless, the little leader wonders how the heck he's gonna make it out of this dried up hell alive. Gauging the distance, he notices the rare patches of grass are way too far to try jumping across all at once. Frustrated with the situation, the yellow creature sinks into the brush, feeling the despair hit hard. Hiding in the grass, the slime tries to negotiate, reminding the enemy he ate the fish but lost his puppets, calling for a draw. Furious at the offer, the amphibious boss denies the truce, warning that pure hate just made its magic even stronger and deadlier. Full of swagger, the big frog steps onto the desert terrain without a single worry. Instantly, the salt burns the monster's body, making it jump in desperate pain, like it's walking on hot coals. Out of options, the wild beast jumps straight into the exact same patch of dry grass where the enemy was hiding. Getting booted from his hiding spot, our MC hops onto the salty dirt, complaining that this bug is super annoying. With his HP dropping, the slime downs the rest of his healing honey. But the system chimes in that his stash is officially empty. Chilling in the grass, the big guy claps his hands, brushing off the dust, totally satisfied with the new advantage. Letting out an evil laugh, the boss tells the gross invader to die a very painful death right there on that cursed ground. Melting into the dirt, the little yellow monster cries, realizing he doesn't have the stamina to reach the next grass patch. Desperate for his life, he dumps his entire inventory on the ground looking for anything useful and spots the crab shell. A heavy armored foot steps hard onto the cracked ground, kicking dust into the air. Watching that, the giant frog tilts its head to the side, completely confused by the noise. The armor leg plants firmly on the dry terrain, tanking the extreme climate without taking a single scratch. Using the crustacean's legs like stilts, the slime celebrates that the armor completely blocks the salty ground's damage. Taking the first step, the heavy shell boot sinks slightly into the cracked dirt. Totally off balance, the adventurer wobbles from side to side, admitting he has zero practice with this. Almost face-planting, he tells himself to chill, focusing purely on keeping his posture straight. With a lot of effort, the slime locks his makeshift legs and manages to regain his stability for real. Walking steadily, the little monster builds confidence, announcing he finally got the hang of it. Analyzing the movement, he realizes walking in this thing is pretty simple once you understand the weight mechanics. Trolling the enemy, our MC says his goodbyes, stating he's gonna bounce out of there first. Outraged by the escape, the amphibian boss screams in rage and tries to pop its swamp flow magic again. But the spell fails miserably, evaporating in the air since the desert terrain has zero moisture to control. Walking chill in the distance, the little slime laughs, reminding the beast its attacks are completely useless with no mud around. Shaking with pure hate, the big guy screams at the top of its lungs, swearing it won't let that yellow trash get away. Blinded by fury, the giant monster jumps onto the salty dirt, totally ignoring the lethal danger of the environment. Further ahead, the puppet leader stops walking when he notices something weird on the bright horizon. Looking down there, he squints, super curious, asking what the heck is glowing like that. In the middle of a dried-up basin, a mysterious portal of light floats peacefully over a crystal, clear puddle of water. That mystery floating in the air leaves the yellow little monster completely shook, realizing it's an actual, real portal. He quickly figures out there's a highly concentrated salt lake in the way, and falling in would mean getting instantly dehydrated. Backing up on his armored legs, our MC decides he still isn't strong enough to risk crossing over to the human world. Later on, a heavy, intense rain pours over the great tree sheltering the little graves of his minions who fell in battle. The system panel pops up in front of the slime, confirming he hit level 51 and showing off all his skills. Reviewing the stats, he notes his parasitic domination evolved, now letting him control 7 puppets at the same time from here on out. Frustrated about losing everything to that gross frog, the little leader admits he's gonna have to rebuild his army from scratch. Thinking about the future, the little monster deduces that stacking power slowly is the safest bet, since the monsters will keep getting stronger too. Outside, a violent lightning bolt rips the sky, lighting up the stormy night, hammering the swamp forest. Huddled in his shelter, the adventurer notices the rain got way worse, suddenly remembering he forgot to close the door. Wasting no time, the slime stretches a long tentacle to pull the leaf and block the entrance of his makeshift hideout. But a heavy tremor shakes the shelter structure, spooking the slime, who freezes completely at the surprise attack. Standing in the heavy storm, the massive swamp frog locks its red eyes, announcing it finally found the yellow scumbag. With killer fury, the giant wild beast lets out a booming roar, telling the invader to wake up to cruel reality. Seeing his worst nightmare right at his front door, the little slime goes into total panic, letting out a high-pitched scream of pure terror. Just then, the little monster wakes up with a jump, sweating bullets, realizing the terrifying showdown was just a nightmare. Still gripped by panic, he thrashes around, waving his little arms and begging the giant beast not to come any closer. Slowly, the calm and quiet environment, lit only by tiny glowing bugs, brings the adventurer back to reality. Holding his wooden spatula, the slime sighs in relief, admitting that cursed frog seriously traumatized him. By morning, warm sunbeams pierce the treetops, kicking off a brand new, peaceful day in the swamp forest. Gathering his tiny clones, the blob orders them to hunt nearby ingredients so he can decompose them and score XP. Obeying the main body's command, the little yellow pieces hop quickly across the terrain, starting the hunt for prey. Focused on getting back on track, the leader plans to hit level 60 so he can finally change classes or evolve. Using a long branch as a cane, our MC walks chill around the base of the giant trees, exploring the turf. Sneakily, a sticky tentacle stretches up and snags a weird lizard that was camouflaged on the thick trunk. Staring down the prey with a smirk, the yellow little monster asks if the low-level monsters still don't know who the real hunter is. Without warning, the lizard takes a lethal piercing attack, spraying fluids everywhere with zero chance to fight back. With the fatal hit, the exotic creature's lifeless body drops from the heights, falling straight onto the forest floor. Pulling the system info, the little slime thinks the invisibility skill is super practical, but is bummed the target actually tried to fight him. Activating his search technique, the leader perfectly tracks another lizard, trying to use camo on the wood. Taking control of one of the lizards, the adventurer jumps onto the other camouflaged enemy, letting it know he found it easily. The panel quickly confirms the creation of the swamp chameleon puppet, listing all of its newly acquired exotic skills. Returning to base, the slime praises his clones' awesome work when he sees the massive pile of bodies and ingredients they gathered. Evaluating the situation, he realizes decomposing weak prey gives trash XP, meaning he has to develop way more efficient methods. Instantly, the system suggests cooking, explaining that cooking ingredients grants bonus XP and valuable extra buffs. Hyped by the idea, the blob asks his AI to scan the pile and find out what dishes can be made right there. A recipe list pops up floating in the air, showing delicious options for roasts and stews, but warning the little monster has no fire. Outraged by the requirement, our MC asks what the heck he can prep that doesn't need any kind of flame to cook. Scrolling through the system menu, the little leader breaks into a huge smile when he finally finds a single viable option under those conditions. The recipe turns out to be just a basic, normal salad that requires zero special prep but gives terrible healing and absolutely zero buffs. Completely frustrated, the slime eats the imaginary screen away, screaming that a useless meal like that is good for nothing. Thinking it over, he realizes he just needs to dominate a monster that uses fire, but remembers he ate all the magic bees in the area. Suddenly, the adventurer has a genius epiphany, remembering exactly one specific little critter that literally has flames on its own body. Far away, a small squirrel with a long tail made of fire chills peacefully while eating its seed on the forest floor. But the rodent's peace ends in the blink of an eye when a heavy armored claw drops from the sky, squashing the poor little guy with zero mercy. Turning the prey into a puppet, the little monster notices this minion's flames are way stronger than the old bees. The system archives the new fire squirrel puppet, highlighting its dangerous skill flaming self-destruction in combat. Using the new grab, the slime orders the rodent to get under a stone slab and start heating up the surface fast. Obeying instantly, the little guy fires a continuous blast of fire at the rock, turning the structure into a makeshift grill. Hitting the perfect temp, the leader tosses the various chunks of meat and mushrooms straight onto the hot stone, kicking up smoke. Flexing a wooden carved spatula and a headband, the slime declares it's time to show off the true power of cooking. Expertly, he tosses the ingredients in the air, triggering the prep system while the fire perfectly sears every single piece. After 2 long hours of hardcore cooking in the forest, the delicious aroma finally starts taking over the whole camp. To finish the dish, the adventurer sprinkles a little bit of that deadly salt he snagged from the desert, taking a tiny bit of damage in the process. As soon as the seasoning hits the broth, a blinding golden glow erupts from the stone pot, showing the recipe was an insane success. Amazed by the blinding flash, the little yellow slime celebrates, pulling off his grand monster feast flawlessly. The final result yields several bowls of a rich, glowing stew that lets off a mouth-watering steam across the rustic camp. Without any hesitation, the starving slime dives headfirst into the biggest bowl, promising to down that god-tier broth in a single gulp. Using his dissolution skill, our MC absorbs everything instantly, securing massive XP and cold resistance. Transported to flavor heaven, the little leader transcends reality, gaining another level while realizing the true power of food. 2 weeks later, the slime chills, claiming the long cooking process totally pays off because of the massive XP payout. During that time, the adventurer aggressively expanded his scouting zone, covering the entire swamp forest with his hyphae. Hitting level 54, the slime unlocks the domain skill, upgrading his control capacity even more. A kilometer away, a large wild frog jumps carelessly through the damp branches, totally blind to the danger hiding in the brush. Watching everything through small clones stuck to the trees, our MC uses these fragments as signal repeater antennas. This genius network lets the leader broadcast his orders over long distances, commanding the puppets spread all over the swamp. In the blink of an eye, massive armored claws burst from the ground and snatch the clueless frog, executing the perfectly coordinated strike. Back at base, the little leader gets a jump scare when he feels a mysterious shadow just completely wrecked one of his valuable puppets. Transferring his consciousness to a bird minion, he tracks down the attacker, but the little bird gets instantly sliced in half mid-air. The encyclopedia IDs the monster as a furious swamp bull, warning that the beast ignores weak magic and is insanely lethal. In another part of the forest, a repeater clone vibrates intensely while stuck to a thick branch, sensing the enemy's violent approach. Acting fast, the adventurer projects his mind straight to a ground base, materializing right in the beast's crash course. Staring down the massive charging bull, the yellow slime is blown away by the crushing aura of that high-level magic creature. Even facing danger, the blob morphs his arm into a plasma cannon, warning he won't forgive anyone who invades his holy turf. As an answer, the gigantic black beast unleashes a brutal death pressure, darkening the area with its terrifying presence. Instantly, the system warns that the enemy's death pressure causes instant death through eye contact if the level gap is too huge. Unable to resist the fatal hit, one of the adventurer's little clones takes absurd damage and gets deleted on the spot. With the damage done, the gigantic black beast turns its back and bolts at top speed through the middle of the forest. But the getaway isn't that simple, because the slime's little puppets already start firing a volley of venomous projectiles at the target. Desperate, the massive bull tries to dodge the attacks while running for its life. Soon, the monster slams on the brakes, noticing the path ahead is completely blocked off. Using his mapping skill, our MC traps the creature in his massive net of yellow threads. Furious at the trap, the big guy rips the lines out of the way using its own mouth. Hidden away, the adventurer deduces the bull's low IQ means he can beat it slowly if he avoids direct hits. Completely enraged, the beast ignores all logic and charges full force, tearing through the search lines. Snorting in anger, the monster flexes unstoppable power, wanting to crush the gooey intruder. Seeing that brutality, the little slime is shocked by the opponent's ridiculous durability. At that exact moment, the bull's death pressure hits our MC's eye dead on. Once again, the mental attack annihilates the target, dealing devastating damage that destroys the clone instantly. With the path clear, the beast charges brutally, crushing the slime's remains into the dirt floor. Unleashing all its power, the wild beast uses a skull explosion that shatters the muddy ground. The violent impact yeets heavy rocks and tree chunks everywhere. Destroying everything in its path, the big guy keeps up its insane charge through the swampy forest. Meanwhile, the little monster's true body waits hidden in the dark foliage. Suddenly the bull freezes mid-sprint after feeling a pinpoint strike from behind. A thin yellow tentacle perfectly hits the beast's only unprotected weak spot. That humiliating attack deals critical damage, carving a path right up the monster's rear. Yanking the string hard, our MC notices the opponent tightened its muscles trying to defend itself. Trolling the beast, the adventurer points out that armor thickness doesn't matter, because the cheap shot is always the most effective one. Feeling the bizarre invasion, the gigantic black bull is taken over by blind, uncontrollable rage. Desperate, the creature starts kicking the air and thrashing like crazy, trying to shake off the annoying pain. With roars of pure hate, the wild beast tears up the ground with its hooves in an absolute frenzy. Giving the enemy zero time to breathe, the blob channels his energy, popping the water hammer technique. The heavy pressure of the strike shoves the tentacle even deeper into the poor beast's rear. Unable to handle the humiliation and pain, the bull screams in agony as the attack hits its peak. Infiltrated inside the opponent's body, the squishy piece starts twisting and slithering through its guts. In a total delusion of grandeur, the slime pictures himself dressed as a surgeon, ready to start the real dirty work from the inside.